Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Here we go again with a Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us all in for tonight's show as Juergen Hess, a.k.a. Hoodoo Tall, is here to talk about what is happening down at Bradshaw Ranch in Sedona, Arizona. We're going to have a great show with him tonight coming up momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to each and every one of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. We got Robert Lamoth with a silver, Michael Morris with a nice bronze medal tonight, High Brown Dwarf, and Philip Backanuts. Philip Backanuts will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Let's say hello to Les Paul Holland, strumming away on his Gibsons right now as we speak. Jessica S. Nice to have you here. Eternity Eternal and Deborah Rooney. How are you both? Good to have you here. And who's next on our list? Cosmic Joe and Lee the Bee. Good to have you both here. Thank you for coming on in. Richard Steele, what's happening, my man? Mama Catherine. Mwah! I love you, Mama Catherine. I hope you're having an amazing day. Jordan Ashley, welcome to the show. And Chris. Teen, how you doing? Nice to see you. Sir Manny, welcome to SOR Chat. And who is next here on our list? Well, it's Noble Patrick and Ann B. Good to see you both. And who else is next? Millennium, my man. Give us an update on that mullet. We'd really appreciate it. All right, JSCO, good to see you, my man. And who is next here? Let us scroll on down. Super Crazy. Good to have you here. Little Cam over on Twitch. Yeah. He was literally bench pressing tonight, 700 pounds, 4 times. 700 pounds, 4 times. Harvey Greensman, how you doing, man? Good to have you here. Harvey will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Peppa H, purple-haired Pixie Lara, Android, and Philip, welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Hello there, Pam Harris. Cosmic Joe, thank you so much for kicking off the super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of this show, my man. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Good morning, Skip to Malou, and good morning, Commonwealth Andrew. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Phyllis Mouche Perry, John Tempering, W. David Page, good to see you all. Hi there, Digger Dog. Good to have you back. We missed you in Reno, man. We really did. Scrolling on down, there's John Lamb, and who else is next here? Well, let us say hello to Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Aloha, Dave. Thanks for coming on in. And who is next? Memorial Gardens, thank you for joining us this morning. And who is? Yes, guaranteed Oilers win Saturday night. That is right. Guaranteed. We're calling our shot right now. And who's next on our list? Christine Lynn, Lee the Bee, Melvin from Mars, and Aaron Baca. Good to see you. Captain K-Rod, welcome to SOR Chat. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Necessary Dialogue, good to see you. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to Bradshaw Ranch with Juergen Hess. Hoodoo Tall is here with us, and his mohawk is looking fantastic. You can't see it on the radio side, but guaranteed, I'm checking it out. It's amazing. We now have Bill WD-40 lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any rigidness. You know what I'm saying? So Bill is currently lubing us up as we speak. Triple J 1983, welcome to SOR Chat. And do we have anybody else here? I think we are caught up. Remember, the super chat is open. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. As well, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Hi, Jenny girl. How are you? We missed you. And Gamer Quest, nice to see you. Everybody, do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to head to Sedona, Arizona, where Juergen Hess is going to talk about the monsters and aliens among us. Ooh, it sounds so fun, doesn't it? Oh, we're going to do that. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing joins us for another creepy story. After that, we have Courtney Marcassani. She will be holding UFO court. Juergen Hess, better known as Hoodoo Tall, is followed around and has been living in Sedona, Arizona for the last number of years as he's been investigating and researching the legendary Bradshaw Ranch. It's a place where creepy cryptids, monsters, and legends seem all too real, from Bigfoot and dinosaur sightings to UFOs and alien encounters. What happens down there? Nobody knows. Why it happens? Nobody knows that either. But we're going to check it on out tonight. Hoodoo Tall, how you doing, my friend? Good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Dave, and thanks for having me back on. There has been, a lot going on. I mean, enough to, put out a whole new series of episodes about what's happened the last 2 years since I moved out here. It's been more than I expected, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, before we get into that, let's talk about you a little bit here so our audience gets to know you. And you are someone who has had keen interest in this. You've had your own experiences. What got you started in chasing down the mysteries of the phenomena?
The only person in the world who made me feel like I wasn't a crazy person was John Lear. And, I was really good friends with him for like 15 years. He's like a mentor to me. He was a father figure. I mean, I have great parents, and not like I needed a father figure, but he was just that kind of old man wisdom, that not many people could provide. And, it got to the point where spending so much time with him, I knew UFOs were real. He had convinced me. I wanted to see them. Like, that's how I really can say I know something, is if I've experienced it. And so, he relayed to me many times that the Rendlesham Forest incident was real. He said he knew guys at that base and he talked to them, and that would really happen. And so I started with the coordinate list from the Rendlesham incident, and I was trying to determine the best place to go see a UFO. And on that coordinate list, the closest place, I lived in California at the time, was Sedona. It's right there on the list. So, I made my first trip out here, uh, booked a tour with Melinda Leslie to go on her night vision tour. I still remember it was her 333rd tour. Now she's like 1,700 and something. It was a while ago.
1,836 now, I believe.
There you go. Yeah. And so, yeah, I was blown away. They're really here in the sky all the time, and you can see them as long as there's not clouds. And that really kind of set it in stone for me that they're real. But I also kind of had maybe this slight addiction to actually watching them fly around. It's magical. It really, like, it's hard to describe how it makes you feel when you see them. And I would start coming back every year on a camp trip. I'd save all my vacation days and come on like a 10-day trip. And then I was making 2 10-day trips. But along the way, the first time I made a camp trip by myself out here, I had big creatures start following me around, and that's kind of what freaked. I was like, there's no way. And when I started looking into that, that's when I found Tom Dongo and started hearing about the Bradshaw Ranch, which kind of weirded me out because, I was into all this stuff for so long. I'd never heard of the place. It wasn't, I don't know why, but yeah, it really sucked me in to the point where I ended up packing up enough stuff in my car, driving it out here, and trying to see if I was resourceful enough to just, in my 40s, start a new life in a small town and find a job and a place to live and, start over just so I could be here more often.
It was a big move and something that you did for your own personal quest. A lot of people wouldn't do that in their life. They wouldn't drop everything in
Right.
mainstream society to start chasing the weirdness, but you did. Have
Uh,
you how hard was that decision for you?
Really easy. So it was weird because I don't know, no matter how much effort I seemed to put into living an extremely regular life, it just wasn't like allowed to happen. Like, it just would never work out for some reason. You know, that kind of made me feel crazy. John Lear was the first person who told me, he's like, "Oh, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing." And I was like, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" He's like, "I don't know, but you need to figure it out." So I started rethinking a lot of things. And, I've made this joke before, but, the Bigfoots were showing up more often than my first dates were. So I was like, okay, hold on. I'm putting my energy into things that aren't being successful, aren't working out, aren't giving anything back. And there's this really strange phenomena out here that, like, I'll go to my campsite, and 5 of the 8 times I camped in this one site, it came walking right through the creek right by my tent. Sometimes it grunts and growls, other times it just splashes. Like, it's really weird. So I was like, well, maybe I should be giving my attention to the thing in life that's trying to get my attention, basically. That's what it felt like.
Oh, it's still a commitment though.
Yeah.
It's still something, Jurgen,
Yeah.
that you have to be committed to, and
And it
not
wasn't
only
easy. Like,
well, explain
so
why not?
yeah, yeah, first I realized to get a job out here, I need to be out here. And so the first thing I did was I found a job working as a ranch hand in exchange for rent in a small trailer. So it was like 3 hours of ranch work in the morning. And, like I said, like, I was 43 years old and I got to go learn how to get up at 4 in the morning and work as a ranch hand. Like, it is a challenge. I accept challenges and I really like to learn things. So I took the advantage of uh, getting that experience. And I was out here for about a week, and I got a job as a tour guide for Jerome Ghost Tours up in Jerome on the mountains. So I had 2 jobs. I was getting up at like 4:35 in the morning, 3 hours of ranch work, showering, changing my clothes, driving up to Jerome, and giving tours till like 11:30 at night. Then going home, getting up, and I did that for like 6 months, 5 days a week. And everyone told me, Sedona's a tricky town. Like, it doesn't accept everyone. It's going to take 6 months or a year for you to figure out if it's going to accept you to be here permanently. And it really was, man. 6 months of that. The ghost tours were, and we'll have to do a whole nother show maybe on ghost tours. If you're into ghosts, go to Jerome, go on a ghost tour. That's all I can, I'll just say that for now. But after that, I had a job working in a crystal shop because I've been working on getting my degrees in metaphysical science, and I kind of wanted to surround myself with metaphysical type things. And I thought being in a crystal shop will not only let me learn a lot about rocks and crystals for the courses in metaphysics I'm going to take on that subject, but it's going to put me around people that talk about that kind of thing. And that was a great experience too. I did that for like 6 months, but I needed a real job at some point, and that those kind of servicing the tourist industry wouldn't really cut it. And then after a year out here, um, I found a job in a brewery, oddly enough, a kombucha brewery. And they taught me how to be a brewer. And now I'm a brewer at this place called Wild Tonic, and we make awesome stuff that's healthy for people. And, like, I really found a job I love, and it feels like I'm supposed to be here now. So it was a gamble, and it wasn't easy. It took like Deadpool says, maximum effort, but I'm just grateful that I did it now.
I'm glad you did it too. I mean, because not everybody has that opportunity to do that. Not
I don't know
everybody.
if I had the opportunity given to me, though. I think everyone has the opportunity to try. It's kind of nerve-wracking a bit, especially when you don't know anyone. You move to a little town, you don't know a single person other than the Bigfoots that show up. It's weird. Like, it's just it's weird, man. It's
You
definitely
know,
weird.
what's really funny is your story about moving there and having to wait time for the regulars and the locals to accept you. That kind of happened to me too when I moved up to this little community where I am. I was told it took about 2 years before, and no, it wasn't 2 years. It was 2 full winters. If you could
Oh,
survive 2 full winters up here, then you would officially be a caribouan, as they
but there
call
you
it, caribou.
go.
And yeah, so I'm now going into my 9th winter here, in a number of months,
Yeah.
even though it snowed yesterday, or earlier today, I should say. But, I mean, it's just the way it is. Small town communities like to protect their own. They
Yeah.
want to protect their own secrets. They want to protect their own legends and mysteries and everything that goes along with that. So, I mean, how did you break into that? How did you gain the trust?
I think just kind of being honest and genuine. I mean, I wanted to be a part of this community in some way. I didn't really have anything to gain from it other than finding something I could contribute to and be a part of. And like when I work the place at the brewery, we all feel that way. Like, we have this amazing dynamic at work, which I haven't had in any other place I've worked, where we all kind of care about each other, we all cover each other's backs, we all get the work done so we can all go home. Like, it's really, really um an awesome place. And I think it's just a matter of you got to put yourself on the line and see whether or not they like you. I mean, I don't think I did anything other than just try to be myself and see what happened, because I don't think you can force it. Acceptance isn't something you can force that I've ever seen. So it was just a roll of the dice. And if I failed at it, at least I can always tell myself that I tried and gave it the effort. I can say, like, well, that must not have been meant to be because I really put effort in. But I'm still here.
You're
But I'm in
still here.
Cottonwood, not Sedona. It's much nicer, much nicer in Cottonwood, I think.
Well, I mean, my opinion of I've never been to that area. It's an area that has always intrigued me. I almost feel a calling to it, like you had, where
Yeah,
you felt you were being called there. What's that
yeah.
like to have that feeling of being called to a place?
So, like, I have this really hard time trying to accept that that's like, I really tried too hard maybe to keep my feet on the ground, and, like, I really have a hard time, differentiating between my intuition or a calling or something like that and just my mind being creative. And, I'm always kind of like skeptical of my own thoughts a lot of times and things. But oddly enough, since I kind of followed that intuition to move out here, I experience it a lot while I'm out here still. Like something Here's a good reason, a good way to point that out that actually happened on the ranch. I had to move some of my little experiments just off the property because people started going there now and they start messing with it. So I've been building a stone circle, and so I was around my circle looking for big rocks to move, and I got so dizzy I almost fell over, and so I sat down. I was about to pass out, and when I caught my breath and I stood up, I didn't know where I was. I wasn't in the same place that I was so confused. I turned my camera on. I was like, okay, I don't know where I am. But that for that week, as I was working on my stone circle, I realized I really wanted an altar, like a Gaia altar, a Mother Earth altar. And I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to really look for a place I can build one. Hopefully, nature provides one somehow. And so that was the main thing on my mind was this altar. And so all of a sudden I'm in this place, and I don't realize I don't know where I am. And I tell myself, okay, I think I'm near the ranch still, because looking around, if I find a dry creek, I can find my way back to the ranch. So I walk around and find a dry creek. At this dry creek is a big cliff, and on top of the cliff is this big black boulder that sticks out like crazy. And instantly I was like, oh my God, that's the altar. And I made my way up there, and it's this weird formation. There's like this natural kind of round amphitheater on the edge of a cliff with this big black boulder that looks like it's an altar. And so at that moment, I'm like, is that thought I've been having the last week of look for an altar? Is that because I was going to stumble on this one, or did I find it because I've been thinking that? So I'm still confused by that idea of that kind of calling thing. But like after I found the altar, I was like, I need some gifts from, the forest to bring to the altar. And I wanted animal bones. And I was like, that would be really cool to find a skull. And I went to a new place I hadn't been and found the biggest tree I've seen. And half the tree's alive and half's dead. And the dead half has a branch coming down that's been broken, and it's 2.5 feet around. I climbed up this thing and I sat down and looked, and there's a hole. And the hole in the tree, sitting in it, was a coyote skull. And I was like, "There's my skull." I was like, "This is so weird." Like, yeah, I don't know what to make of all that, man. It happens. I there's times when I think something will happen and it doesn't. I'm just like, maybe that's just maybe I missed it, or maybe I'm just my mind's being creative. I would need more people around to, bounce ideas off of as they happen. Maybe it's tricky when you're doing this alone.
Well, and that was actually what was going to lead to my next question, because you're doing this all alone. You're learning it
Yeah,
on the fly. Yes,
yeah,
you've had some mentoring, but for the most part, everything that you're doing out there in the field, trying to figure out what is going on with that strange phenomena, it
hmm,
really is about you doing your own investigations, you learning what works, what doesn't, what techniques to use, what technology to use,
right,
what spirituality to use. Take us
right,
through that, of what that
yeah,
process is like.
yeah, yeah. One of the things that I hoped for moving out here was that being here more often, the phenomena would get more familiar with me, and maybe I'd be able to even encounter it more, or the encounters would develop more in some way. And, so I put kind of this concept I had of how to try to study this paranormal stuff, I put it into practice, and, it's been working. And so, like, I guess if I could try to get any point across, it is that the approach you take to this phenomena seems to have an effect on the results you're going to get. Um, if you're trying to catch this, now the UFOs, they don't care if you're filming them. It's really weird, man. Like, since I've moved here, I'll be videotaping one and I'll ask a question audibly with my mouth on camera, and they'll answer. Like, I'll ask them, "Can you answer with flashes for yes?" And I'll ask questions and they'll flash back with yeses, and it's really, really bizarre. The creatures, at least one of them has gotten much more familiar with me too, and it's weird because I have found some locals that have been incredibly helpful. Um, this guy Ben Lone Tree, he's the coolest mad scientist I've ever met, and he's been able to help add a layer of scientific data to what I'm researching at the ranch. Trail cams don't work. That's you trying to catch these things. they're not monkeys, I can tell you that. They're higher level beings of all sorts that manifest on the ranch property and the land around it. It's not just the ranch. And when I realized that, I thought, okay, well, a higher level being is not going to be interested in interacting with someone that thinks it's better than it is. Like if I was to go out there with, all these infrared cameras and thermal tech and all these big lights and generators, and these things can see all that. They know it's all there, and they just don't come in that area. The History Channel was out here, and they had the big, huge setup, and I was up on the hillside just kind of observing what was happening. And all the creatures were on the opposite hillside when they were there. I had pictures and scans of their footprints, but I mean, it's like, well, they're not going to show up if you come in with things they don't like. And so I've had to do trial and error a lot. The trail cams are like, if I find a trail cam out there, I don't take it down, but I know there's not going to be any creatures in that area. And I can't even tell you how many people I've met or messaged me. They're like, I've had a trail cam out there for 9 months. I've never got anything. I'm like, I mean, yeah, nobody ever has trying to study stuff. Like, I'm not sure why people are set on trail cams, but flash photography, that works, which is strange. But also that, I one of the Bigfoot creatures let me take its photo that night. You've seen it. It's at the end of the first Hoodoo Tall. And I use my words carefully when I say it let me take its photo. I've been out there a lot of nights, taking a lot of photos, and I've never caught any kind of full-size, fully manifested creature other than that one night. I've caught a lot of weird, strange things, but that thing crouched down and sat there and let me take its photo. And I believe it's because I was going out there trying to feed it, trying to write messages, trying to interact. Basically, I'm trying to see if there's something I can learn from them. If they're higher level beings, well then, if they find us worthy of their attention, maybe they'll teach us something. And so that's kind of the approach I've taken. Building a stone circle because our ancient ancestors did that. I mean, I don't know why none of us know exactly why they did it, but they found it was important. So I thought maybe that's energy related. Maybe, there's something more to stone circles. And so I'm trying to teach myself how to move like really huge, hundreds of pound stones. It's hard without any equipment, but the trickiest part is about being alone is keeping your head on your shoulders. So like one of the things I do is I go in there at night without anything because I'm not trying to catch evidence. I'm trying to have these encounters as I do my field work to get my PhD in metaphysics. This is my field work for my thesis. But along the way, they're letting me have evidence. And so I'm going to take whatever evidence they let me have. I'm not going to force it or anything like that. So what's important for me is to go into this property without any way of capturing evidence. And that means you go in with you and your clothes in the middle of the night when it's really dark and you don't have flashlights or everything is in the car. And those nights are really bizarre. You'll see it in episode 2 of Hoodoo Tall 2. I'll give you some of the good stuff because episode 2 will be all about creatures. So I did that one night. But before I went into the ranch, I took a video of my car of me and I said, I'm just going into the ranch house. I'm just going to go out there, see what happens. I go into the ranch. I stand in the front yard. I couldn't tell you how much time passed. I couldn't really remember anything that happened when I was in there other than the only sound I heard was an owl. There was no cricket. There was nothing. Just dead quiet and an owl. And I felt something touching the sides of my head on occasion. And
hold that thought.
Yeah.
Because we are going to step away for a quick break here at the bottom of the hour. Hoodoo Tall is here talking Bradshaw Ranch, high strangeness, strange creatures, UFOs in the sky, all around Sedona, Arizona. We'll be right back with more Juergen Hess when we return on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, man.
yeah. We're
Good
gonna have
start.
some good stuff to talk about.
Good start.
Just
Did you?
recently, I found a spot that looks like a UFO landed there, like a really weird burn circle, man.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Just remember, our YouTube audience can hear us,
Oh yeah.
and our podcast audience can hear us, and our
Yeah.
Twitch audience can hear us, and our LinkedIn
Yeah.
audience can hear us.
Yeah, the burn circle is pretty recent. But I even went with a Geiger counter, and the Geiger counter was reading double the base reading inside the burn circle. That's strange.
Awesome. Awesome. So, what are you up to for the most part there? Like, what do you do during the day and everything?
I mean, I put in 8 hours at the brewery, then I was putting in 6, 8 hours of school. Man, going out to the ranch 2, 3 times a week at least to get footage and trying to go through footage to put together the sequel. Yeah, I mean, you know, going on UFO tours to film those, and then still trying to find new locations to go explore. So I've definitely been doing stuff. It's like definitely been. There's some, and you know what? I've been out here 2 years, and there's still so many spots I haven't been to yet that I really can't wait to check out. Um, it's such a uh, kind of vast area. I still really
I
need to
can,
go look into the Sycamore Canyon.
I can imagine there's areas, hot spots around here that I've never even looked at yet. Never
No,
even
yeah.
looked. And around me, I've got approximately, from what I've heard, at least 3 ranches that have had strange occurrences like Skinwalker Ranch around me. And
Oh, really?
I know where one of them is. Don't know where the other 2 are. I'm still trying to figure out those ones.
So I know these two guys that have met out here a few times now, and they were able to find the campsite from the Sierra Sounds in Missing 411 in the Sierra
Oh
Nevadas.
wow.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
gonna go back. Yeah. They showed me photos of it. They found it for sure. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm sure
That's
it
pretty
wouldn't
big.
have really changed.
I mean, I hope I have time to go out there with them at some point, and I don't know. I want to camp in that site and see see what we hear. Listen to see what we hear. See what we hear is a weird thing to say.
We're going camping at one spot out here this year that I am not happy about it. I am not happy about it.
What
And
does that mean?
it's scary out there. It is
You
very
want me to
scary.
come keep you safe?
Oh, I'm not afraid of safety. Okay. Um, the last year we had an encounter within 50 yards of us of a Bigfoot and aliens and a UFO on the ground.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So it's my team wants to spend the night out there. I don't like being out there at night. It's
What state is this in?
it's in British Columbia here.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's that one island out there too, Prince something Island, where the Bigfoots uproot trees and then
Oh,
smash the trees into the ground upside down with the roots up in the air.
they're doing that in Washington State. They're doing that up all over the province.
That's so weird.
All right, we got about a minute to go here. So we got a bunch of new listeners in the chat room tonight. Just wanted to let you know that we're a hybrid. If you don't know already, we're a hybrid show of a live radio show, podcast, and live YouTube and Twitch on camera. And so we, at the bottom and top of the hour, we take commercial breaks because we have to time everything out for our radio stations. And you get the ability to kind of see behind the scenes of what we are doing. So that's kind of what we are doing here. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'd greatly appreciate it. Hi, Flat Six, how you doing? And thank you to Sun times 2, Big Dog, and Joe for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love. Marty Burback, good to see you. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So let's get to it here. Here we go with the second half hour, Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate tuning into this show and meeting and talking to all of you. I want to say hello to all you people listening in on our terrestrial affiliates. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. We're also on every major podcast network as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Juergen Hess, Hoodoo Tall. Checking out the Bradshaw Ranch and everything weird and strange about that. Welcome back, my man. How you been doing?
Good. I'll quickly finish that story about me being out there in the middle of the night. Yeah, the only thing I really felt physically was something touching my head. And when I got back to my car, I shot another quick little video just saying, I'm out safe. When you watch the video from when I went in to when I went out, they're like almost a different person. I was so like out of it. And I didn't notice it when I shot the video and back in my car. But as I'm talking, you can see something on the sides of my head. And when I got home and I walked past a mirror, there were these huge black streaks down the sides of my head. And I have no idea how they got there. And that's something that's kind of anecdotal. I mean, I have pictures and video of the black streaks, but there was no one there with me. There's other nights out there when I'm out there completely alone and something shows up and starts growling and, making all these crazy sounds. And, those experiences I just have to tuck in my pocket. I can't show anyone evidence of it. Now, there are people that come out there with me, they're pretty interested in what it is and want to come check it out. And I kind of like that because it gives me a chance to bring some new energy there. Uh, different things happen depending on who comes out there with me. And there was actually one night when the only time a Bigfoot has called back to me when I called. Like they respond in a lot of ways, but a couple people, friends from the brewery, had come out there with me, and it was just after sunset, and so it wasn't late at night. And I told them, they're usually not out right now, but I'll let out a yell. We'll see what happens. And we're standing by the windmill, and I let out a real loud yell. And man, right from the middle of the orchard field, this thing just screamed back at us like, ooh! I mean, it was, and then woo, 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 woo. Like it was making the craziest sounds. And you could tell how big it is just by how much like bass is in the noise of it. The one thing I did notice that I thought was odd was my yell echoed through the canyons. Its noises didn't echo. I don't know if that's because it was close enough to us where it just seemed that loud, but it wasn't loud enough to echo, or maybe these paranormal creatures vocalize in a way that doesn't echo. I just found that interesting.
The first time I heard a Sasquatch roar, it was literally about 200 feet behind 4 of us. My friends had this at the time. They had this 10-acre property. And the entire time we felt like we were being followed. And that's where I saw the pixelization of the Sasquatch by my friend's cherry tree right by his house. and the two of us of the four of us could see the pixelation. The other
Right.
two today would be called, glimmering, like the
Right.
glimmer.
Right.
And we walked to the front of the house on their 10-acre property, and way behind us, about 200 feet, that's where we got roared at. And my
Wow.
friend lived on the mountain, man, and everything echoed there. Okay. If
Yeah.
you heard horses, cattle, goats, sheep, okay, everything echoed. But when that roar hit, it did not echo either, man. Did not
Yeah.
echo.
That's so weird. Yeah, I'd never thought of that even before, but that's so bizarre. There must be something to that, because that's pretty weird that something so loud wouldn't make an actual sound wave. Is that why it wouldn't echo? That's super
I have
strange.
no idea. I have
Yeah.
no idea about that. But I'll tell you, we had a roar this year or last year, pardon me, when we were out in the forest, 7 of us, and we had about a 15, 20-second one pitch roar. It
Oh,
was like a siren where it just started and then it hit that note
yeah.
and then it stayed there and stayed there. And we're like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
kind of died down like a siren does. And it was like,
Oh, right.
wow.
It's really like, how do you? So when I hear the roaring and one of the other really, really weird sounds we've heard out there, is it walking through this dry creek bed, and it's pulverizing the stones it steps on. Like, you can hear it just crushing them into sand as it walks. The lady who was with me when we heard that, she was like, "Nope, done. We're out. Like, can we please leave? I'm not here for this." That's like, okay, you wanted them to come out, and they came out. She's like, "Yeah, cool. We're out. Let's go." So,
I do want to ask you something though, because for people who are listening to this show, they're like, "Oh, you're like all the other, woo masters out there, where every time you go into the forest, you're having encounters, and everything's a Sasquatch. A beetle
right,
crawling on a rock is a Sasquatch. A lizard going by is a Sasquatch.
yeah.
It's not like that. You literally have to learn the animals in your wilderness. I
So
know
you're right.
in my area, we have wild horses. We have a wolf pack. There's mountain lions, lynx, bobcats, martens. There's moose that are running around at 1,500 pounds. You don't want to
Yeah,
battle one of them. We have
yeah,
black bears. We have grizzly bears, coyotes, badgers, like a lot of things that hate humans and want to
yeah.
kill you. Okay. What is there that you had to learn? You had to learn the sounds, the droppings. I mean, because
Yeah.
believe it or not, this may sound laughable to a lot of people here, but you'll understand when I say this. One of the most important things you can find is poop.
Yep. Yeah,
Learn
for
your
sure.
poop, people. Learn your poop if you're in the
In fact,
wilderness.
if you found actual Bigfoot poop, that'd be worth more than its weight in gold. With the DNA and that, like, to a lot of people, that'd be worth a lot of money. But so Cliff Mahooty, before he passed away, he dropped a lot of knowledge on me. And one of the things he told me that he was taught by his ancestors, by his elders when he was growing up in the tribe was, uh, one day when he was like 8 or 9, he said, his grandfather told him, like, "Get enough water for like 3 days and go. I want you to go sit up on that hill." And he's like, "What?" Okay, so he went and go sat up on the hill for 3 days. Comes back down. His grandfather's like, "What'd you see?" He's like, "Was I supposed to be looking for something?" He's like, "Oh my god, what?" He's like, "No, no. What did you see?" And he's like, "Well, like in the morning, the deer they come walking through that part over there, you know." And he described how the land lives. And after he taught me that, I one of the first things I built with big stones at the ranch was a big chair, a big throne out of these stones up high on the hillside. It's on the same hill that Bob Bradshaw saw the UFO come flying down over and like drop all the little orbs. It's on that hill. And as I've been going through my courses to get my PhD, a lot of it involved meditations. And I use the chair for that and just for sitting in. Man, I spend hours sitting up on the hillside above the ranch, just watching over the place. I know where the deer come and go. The one thing that tripped me up originally were the cattle. I didn't expect cattle to be out there. And what happens is ranchers lease government land and let the cattle graze. So I had to learn a lot about what cattle can leave because their feet are weird looking, man, and they leave weird looking tracks, I'll tell you. And I even addressed that in Hoodoo Tall too, because in the first one there was a track that really threw me off, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And after I put my footage out, somebody's like, "Yeah, that's a cow." So I went and tracked some cows, and I found it, and I was like, "That's the feedback I need." You know, um, I think it's important that people don't. And in no way will I ever be some sort of expert in this. I'm a boots on the ground investigator, just trying to collect what's worth showing, I guess. And there's just so much of it occurs that, people question the existence of the Bigfoot, and it's like, okay, well, you would really need to explain away the photo of it gave me, the body impressions it's left in the ground for me, all the footprints I've been finding, then those need an explanation. And until I can get the explanation of what all that is, to me, it still seems these creatures, this phenomenon does exist in some way we don't understand.
It is very important, to know your surroundings, know what can hurt
Yeah.
you, what can't. I mean, you have a
But
lot
out here,
more.
okay, so as far as predators out here, there's not much. There's like deer. Um, there's a little bobcat. And I know that because it was teaching its cub how to hunt by stalking me one day. And there's a mountain lion that can come down from near Fresno, but I've never really seen tracks of it. Just a little bobcat. You can run into a black bear. I've never seen it. Like the campgrounds here don't have bear boxes or anything. Like you're really not going to run into a black bear out here. Rattlesnakes, they're
Yeah,
little buggers. But
yeah.
there's nothing big. There's coyotes. There's not really any wolves. Yeah, I guess you could get a jaguar coming up through Mexico. There's jaguars in Arizona. I don't know that they're up this far yet, but it's possible. But I haven't seen much of anything like any kind of big predators out here.
Yeah, but you do need to know, what does their poop look like? You need to know
Yeah,
what it's all about,
yeah,
because if you don't know your surroundings, if you like me, for instance, if I were to come down with you, I don't even know what a rattlesnake sounds like. Yes,
right,
I've
right,
heard
right.
one on YouTube and all that, but to hear it with your own ear,
Not only
I
that, to see it, it looks like cow poop because they're brownish and they're dried out and they're coiled up just like a cow pie is. And you might step on it thinking it's just, or step near it thinking it's a cow pie. Yeah, you really got to be careful.
yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just the way it is. You
yeah,
know? So
yeah,
the fact that you don't have a lot of major predatory animals out there, that makes it good for you. But in your
right.
experiences out there, you have found everything from Sasquatch prints to weird uh, dog-like prints to even dinosaur prints that look fresh.
Two
What's
kinds of
that?
dinosaurs. Yeah. So I found now what I would now when I found the first set of what I call dinosaur tracks, I had no clue what I was looking at other than they were like elephant-sized looking tracks. It wasn't until I heard about Tom Dongo and Linda Bradshaw's book Merging Dimensions, which I think everyone should get that book and read it. It's great. But Linda mentions that she saw brontosaurus type dinosaurs walking across her front yard. No, not full size. I think she said they were like 10 or 12 feet tall. Well, the tracks that I found, I mean, that's exactly what they look like. They look like what would be left by a brontosaurus that was about 12 feet tall. And then a lot of times what I do is I go out just before sunset. That way I can cover some ground, look for any fresh tracks, and then wait into dark. Um, and this one particular day, I was out looking around just before sunset. Man, I found a fresh uh, T-Rex track. I mean, that's what it looks like. I mean, I have pictures and videos of it. It's 22 inches long. It's a big long pad and three long claw toes. I mean, I didn't stay into the night that day. That's the only day I left the property. I was like, screw this. I don't know what left this footprint, but I don't know that I want to find out right now.
How
Um,
did you know it was fresh, new?
oh, it's in soil. I mean, it's in the fresh topsoil. It's just, like your shoe print would leave. It's in dirt. It's not in rock or it's not petrified or anything. I mean, you could just wipe it away if you wanted to. They're fresh in the dirt, tracks, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, the Brontosaurus ones, I mean, a lot of these tracks, when they step, they're compressing the earth and it's pushing out around. I mean, these things are heavy, whatever they are. They're displacing the earth when they step. It's really remarkable when you see it. And there's a set of them that have been out there for about a year now, and they haven't gone in. They're still I still take people and show them these set of footprints because they haven't gone anywhere. They were in this hard packed dirt, but it compressed in like 3 inches. And even though it snowed and rained and everything, yeah, you can still see them. It's weird.
What's it like to push the limits in believing when you see evidence like that? What's
Yeah.
going through your brain at that point when you're like thinking, my God, this looks like a dinosaur track?
Yeah. That I'm going crazy. I mean, it it's so like far fetched, and it always just seems like too much. You find a place where you can see UFOs all the time. That should be enough. Then as you're walking around, these giant ape-like creatures start following you around. Then you're like, okay, that's incredible. And then you start you start finding tracks of dinosaurs as well, and you're just like, what is, I honestly don't know what to think of it yet. And honestly, I'm not sure I'll know what to think of it until many years after I've stopped doing it. It's really, and I call Tom Dongo still, and to try and get some advice. I'm like, Tom, what do I do next? I don't understand. And he says, we didn't understand what we were doing. You just keep trying stuff. He's like, don't try to figure it out as you go. He's like, because we can't. And and the best way I can try to describe it to people of how frustrating it is if you were to try to study quantum mechanics. There's a great thing called the double slit experiment, and it proves to you that electrons either act as a wave or as a particle, depending on if you're looking at it. Now that is mind-blowing, that electrons can either be matter or not matter, depending on whether you're looking at it. And I've started trying to take that realization and apply that idea to the paranormal stuff. Does me trying to interact with it affect it and affect the outcome of it? And I think it does. I don't. I guess I feel slightly rewarded, regardless of how crazy it makes me feel when I see a dinosaur track. I guess I feel like I must be doing something right because it let me find a track, or I was in the right place at right time to find it. So I guess if anything, I don't know what to think of it, but it gets me motivated to just keep trying. If that makes sense. It's a hard thing to try to like process when you see it for yourself, or when you see a 12-foot tall Bigfoot standing across the field from you in the middle of the daytime. Y- I like lost my mind when that finally happened. And it wrote a symbol on the chalkboard too that I made a chalkboard and drew symbols, and it wrote one back and then showed itself to me. And yeah, I can say it motivates me, but I can't say that I know how to describe it yet.
We got 5.5 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the top of the hour.
Uh-huh.
Hudatal is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Couple of questions for you. When you, I've never been to your area. Are
Mhm.
there a lot of hiding spots for these creatures? Like in my area, it is forested everywhere.
Right.
Okay, and we're talking old growth forest of trees 100, 150, 200 feet high, and we're talking areas that is replanted over the last 50 years, and those trees are 34 feet, 30 to 40 feet, 50 feet high,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of hiding spots there for them. There's a lot of mountainous caves and caverns and streams and all sorts of flora and fauna where they can rest down or bed down without anybody noticing. When I picture your area, I picture the desert. I picture not
Manzanita.
many trees.
Yeah.
I picture a lot of vast open expanse. Am I
There's
wrong?
No, you're not wrong. There's a wide variety of terrain here, especially if you're along the Verde River, Oak Creek. You're gonna get cottonwood trees and sycamores, and there's a couple others too, but that's only along the creek. I mean, you get off the creek and it's a lot of manzanitas, and there might be some other trees here and there, junipers, but there's none of that Pacific Northwest environment. And that's why I didn't think Bigfoots were here to begin with when I first came out here. That's why it caught me so off guard the first time when they showed up. Like, what the heck? Because where were they going all this time? And as I started to try to study them, I realized, well, they're not they're not terrestrial creatures. They're not native here, and they have abilities we don't understand. So I mean, I don't think they need to hide behind trees if they don't want to. It doesn't seem like. Um, but that was one of the weirdest things to me, was that there's no place for them out here to go hide all day. I've caught one of them sleeping under a tree in the middle of the day. There's this one creature out here, and its foot is shaped similar to a Bigfoot, but it only has 3 toes. But they're big round toes, like the size of like an oblong orange or potato each toe. And I found its footprints, yeah, within like an 8-mile radius. I would find it. And one day I was out and I was way off trail, maybe where I shouldn't have been, and I heard something grunt and roll over on the ground. I mean, it vibrated the earth when it rolled over and grunted. And when it rolled, you hear breaking twigs and stuff. I could hear exactly where it was. It was under a tree over there. And as I started kind of like, I turned my camera on, I was like, holy crap. And as I started walking around to see what I could see, sure enough, 3-toed footprint leading in that direction. Um, the 3-toed thing stopped appearing, I think last September, maybe. Yeah, about that. It was like a good 4 months where that 3-toed thing was showing up.
Do you
Uh,
think that it moved on or just vanished?
I think it just, yeah, it stopped enjoying. When I asked Lou Baldwin about who the Bigfoots were and these creatures, he said, "Well, they're not. They just like coming here. They come and go as they please." He said they have UFOs, but they don't need them. They can just teleport. They can just vanish right in front of you. And as I've been out here, that seems to be the case. They just kind of disappear. Yeah, the 3-toed thing seemed like it was here for a stretch of a few months and then has not been around since. So, maybe they come and go and they just I mean, heck, if you and I had the ability to teleport to a planet we really liked, I'm sure you and I would probably teleport every couple months, right?
But a lot of people would believe, as we got about 90 seconds to go here, that if these creatures are flesh and blood, they're not going to teleport. They're not going to just vanish. They're not going to, just, come and go as they please. Yet here you are in an open, vast expanse, yes, mountainous, and you're literally watching these creatures come and go with no answers as to where their tracks are going or how they're even getting to
Yeah.
where they need to go.
Somebody would need to explain to me how something that weighs 1,000 pounds that leaves footprints 2 to 3 inches deep can leave just like 10 footprints and then nothing before it or nothing after it. I- I- I've tracked every animal out here, and they all leave footprints all the way leading right up to them. As long as the conditions are the same. So yeah, that does. And when I saw it in the middle of the daytime, we were squared up at each other, and then it turned and walked to the side, and there was a tree here. It walked and disappeared as it passed the tree. It didn't, where did it go? It didn't go into the tree. Maybe it did. I don't know. But as it walked past the tree, it vanished. And so I know it's a hard pill to swallow because that means that there are things we don't understand and people really don't like that. But it just seems to be the case. That seems to be what they do. I'm not trying to force anyone to believe it.
You're going to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. And Hoodoo Tall, aka Juergen Hess, is here tonight talking about the Bradshaw Ranch down in Sedona, Arizona. Always finding evidence with this guy and his power mohawk. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this with Hour 2. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, my man. We are on a 5.5 minute break here. I'm just going to take a quick break. I'm going to put you back in the green room. If
Yep.
you look at the upper right hand corner where it says comments on the screen, you can see the audience and communicate with them there.
I don't think I have that on my
Private
phone.
chat. See where it says private chat?
Yeah, I don't. Oh, I see it on my phone. Yeah, I think I see it.
Oh, you're on your phone. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to mess it up.
All right, not a problem. I'm just going to stick you back in the green room, and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Little Davy Altman says, "Hi, Hoodoo Tall."
What's up, Dave? Good to hear from you, man. I saw a missed call from the other day, and I've been slammed. I'm calling you tomorrow.
All right, be right back, bud. All right, I am back. And GW, how you doing? Good to see you back. And we'll bring in Hoodoo here. There he is. Look at that mohawk, everybody. It's beautiful. Asimov, how you doing? The guitar is a Court. Yes, Canadians have tape measures in centimeters and inches.
I'll make sure people know that they can see a good amount of pictures of what I'm talking about already on my Instagram too, like the three-toed creature, T-Rex, all that.
For sure.
It's at a baby raven.
All right. Big thank you tonight to Sun Times 4, Big Dog, and Joe for the super chats tonight. We very much appreciate the love and support. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Here we go. All right, here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Let us say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally as well. You can find us on every major podcast network. And hello to the Desert Clam, who sets the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Narishkite. Narishkite is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Juergen Hess, a.k.a. Hoodoo Tall, is here tonight on the show. We're talking about the legends and monsters around Bradshaw Ranch near Sedona, Arizona. We're having a great time talking dinosaurs, talking Sasquatch, UFOs, everything in between. My friend, welcome back.
Yeah, there was something new that happened within the last year or two, footprint-wise. And I've been calling them the alien footprints because I don't know what made these things, but I found the most bizarre set of footprints. And finding them was bizarre too. This was one of those days where I had a few hours of time, and one of those things like we were talking about, intuition or calling or something. I was like, gosh, you know what? I'm gonna go out to the ranch for a minute. And I peeled out there and I was walking around, and it was weird because I was walking around. I was like, yeah, I just feel like I'm supposed to see something. I was looking around. I was like, there's nothing here. And I was in the dirt road right in the front of the house. And it was like in my head, I heard one like little alien yelling at another one. And it was like, I thought I told you to leave footprints there. And the other one's like, I did. They're right there. He doesn't see. Like it was kind of like I was laughing to myself. I'm like, God, this is a weird day. And then I looked down on the ground, and there are these three-toed tracks that are about 2 inches across, 3 inches long. They are 3 pointed toes that come down to a pointed heel, and the toes are all equidistant. They're it's straight across the top. The center toe isn't longer than the other toes. And it wasn't one footprint. I mean, there was a track line of like 20 of them. And they were so obvious that I almost left without getting any photos. Because I was looking at them like, okay, this just has to be some bizarre animal I've never heard of. Like, because these creatures don't just leave footprints right in the middle of the road, right in front of the house. This is bizarre. And I just happened to take some photos. And then that night I kind of realized how crazy they were. I went back the next day and was able to get some video, at least with my tape measure, and measure how far uh, the gate was between the footprints. And the gate, I think it was like 42 inches. Now my steps are like 28 inches. I'm 6'3". So this thing had feet that were like 2 inches by 3 inches. Its steps were like 40 plus inches apart. And then the really bizarre thing is when I look closely at the photos, it had a kid. There was another set of tracks, not as far deep into the ground and a little bit smaller, but the exact same shape. Because when I first saw it, I thought, oh, this is a double step of a deer. But then as I looked, I was like, well, deer don't double step every step and only double step every step. I was like, this is a bipedal thing I'm looking at. And then when I noticed that it had a child with it too, man, that one still stumped me. And I had friends of mine post it on Facebook hunting groups, asking hunters what made this track. And we could not get a solid answer from anyone. It was really, really weird. Little aliens? I don't know, man. Yeah.
Very interesting, man. I mean, how do you keep your composure? Because most of the time you're investigating alone.
Mhm.
You're not with anybody. I mean, one of the most dangerous things a person can do is wander off into the wilderness alone. And especially when you are going out, never mind the predators, okay?
Right,
But
right.
there's a lot of things out there that we don't know, whether it's
I've seen
portals.
I'm I've seen Deliverance, so, there's people too. People are scarier than most animals.
Well, I get that, and I understand that, and you get a lot of people out there who, are
Yeah,
done with society.
and out here, there's people that, a lot of people live out of their cars and, they're out camping and stuff. Yeah, I'd be more afraid running into a person, I think, than an animal at this point. 'Cause, yeah, that'd be so doing it alone, actually, oddly enough, I do now have a video example of what how I react when it goes down. Because I don't know if I keep my composure when I'm out there and it goes down because nobody's there to tell me if I did or not. So anyway, just maybe 2 weeks ago, I got to experience something that Tom Dongo got to experience.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
yeah, he told me the story a bunch of times where him and Linda were out there and something roared like a lion. And he says that they had a bunch of dogs at that point, like 7 or 8 dogs the Bradshaw's had, something like that. All the dogs jumped up and took off in the direction of this roar. And him and Linda Bradshaw thought they were gonna have to go out there and just pick up dog body parts, like this thing was just gonna tear them up. Well, after the incident was over, all the dogs came just trotting back like nothing had happened. And they concluded that these creatures knew the dogs somehow. Like the dogs, when they got to it, they were fine with it. Well, so I was out there the other night and I had my tripod and my camera. One of the things I've been trying to do, I take a lot of pictures of UFOs, and if you want to do that, the best way to do it is to use long exposure. So usually use a 20 or 30-second long exposure because then you'll capture the UFO as it moves through the sky, and in your picture you'll be able to see its movement. And I'm trying to get pictures of UFOs and the Bradshaw house in the same shot. You got to set little goals for yourself when you're out there. And so I was setting up and I was just sitting there. It was middle of the night and man, something roared like a lion. And I kind of just froze for a moment and immediately turned my video camera on my tripod, turned it on. And so I have a video of this incident. Now you can't really see anything. My video is kind of pointing at the house. You see the sky and the outline of the Bradshaw house, but you can hear me and I'm trying to explain what's happening. It's something just roared over there. And then I hear it again. It doesn't roar, but it like grunts and groans really loud. Now my camera was running, and over the next couple minutes, it grunted and groaned a few times. When I went back into the footage on my computer and turned the volume up really loud, I think the first time I was able to capture the sound of it. But in that moment, what do? I'm there alone. and there's a giant creature across the field from me. And my camera recorded all of it. Like, I'm talking to myself. I'm like, okay, it's there, it's there. And I think I said something like, all right. It's like, this is men from the boys. And I telling myself there's a creature there. Like, that's why I'm here. And then you kind of just see the outline of me walk off into the distance toward where the creature is. And I guess that's how I handle it. I put myself in check. Like, I can't run away when what I'm here to study shows up. So that's what I tell myself, because it's easy to get freaked out.
Are they chasing you or are
Mm.
you chasing them?
I'm putting myself in the place where they are known to be. That's what I consider myself to be doing. That's it. I'm not chasing. If one shows up, I'm gonna go try and say hello, but I'm not chasing it. Um, I'm just, and it's funny because I learned that concept when I was given the ghost hunting tours, because I got ghosts every single tour I gave. And so people, when they're coming on the tour, they're like, "Is this even real?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's real, but it's because I'm taking you to where ghosts are all the time. Like, that town is full of ghosts, and if you go to places where ghosts are, they're gonna talk to you through a spirit box. It's pretty neat." So I was like, "That's what I'm doing with the creatures. I'm putting myself in the place where I know they are, so I can see what happens." I try to experiment with leaving them gifts or feeding them. I don't try to do anything invasive or catch them. So I think they know that about me. Um, or else I don't know why they keep interacting with me. I would say it's an interaction more than a chasing.
Okay, because I know in my area with the Sasquatch, one of the things that we do is we don't go hiking the trails for them. We have an area where it's like an intersection where we found footprints before.
Mhm.
Okay, it's a very open area and it's a safe area.
Yeah,
We could see anything coming up towards us at a
yeah,
minimum of say 50 feet to a maximum of a quarter mile in our
right,
area.
right.
And th- that doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of hiding spots in and around those
Yeah,
areas where they can hide, but
yeah,
we allow them to get to know us. We do everything the same. We park in the same spot. We set up
right,
our lawn chairs in the same spot. If
right.
if we're have the ability to do a campfire, right now there's a campfire ban because it's
Yeah,
quite dry up here. Okay, so when we can have a campfire, we always make sure that it's the same hot type of hot dogs. It's the same uh, place where the fire is. We try and do everything the same. Are you like that too, or are you more mobile where you know
that's
that
interesting.
you're walking
Huh,
the trails? 'Cause for us, there's also a safety factor in that as well, where if we have to scramble to our vehicles because a grizzly bear comes out,
right.
we're okay there.
So I actually really like that. I think what you're doing would probably work. I mean, to me, what you're doing makes sense. It's a good logical approach. I kind of feel like I might be the opposite of that out here, to be honest. Like, I kind of don't go on any trails. I'm always just like looking for a random creek bed I can just go hike it, because I like looking for old petroglyphs. And I there's something I really want to share that it'll be in episode 2 of Hoodoo Tall 2. Um, there's a connection out here with the natives and the creatures, and it goes to show that not only am I encountering the creatures here, not only did Linda, but so did they as far back as 10,000 years ago. So one of the petroglyphs I found is a saber-toothed cat, and it's directly across a creek from a Bigfoot carving. So if they were carved at the same time, that's pretty old. And then after that, I was thinking like, okay, if they carved a saber-toothed cat, they for sure would have painted or carved a mammoth out here. Because if they were hunting cats, if they ever killed a mammoth out here, they would have marked it. They would have, or if they saw one, because mammoths were out here. And so, like, I was using intuition, kind of like we talked about, and I was finding nothing, man. And I even thought, like, maybe I'll give Tom Dongo a blind target and see if he can remote view it, and I can find the mammoth that way. Because at this point, it was weird. I kind of got obsessed with it. I was like, no, there's a mammoth here. Well, then, oddly enough, like one of the first friends I made out here, my friend Blue, I told her that, and she's like, I know where the mammoth is. It's like, what? So, it's like, yeah, I know exactly where it is. So she took me and she showed it to me, and it's beautiful, man. It's a front view of a mammoth. It's painting. It's about 1.5 feet tall, and there's a lot of other paintings there. And right next to the mammoth is a mural of a lot of weird looking people. They're very boxy looking people with these crazy headdresses. Each person looks different, and they're in a dance kind of scene. And standing right behind these creatures or people is a big white Bigfoot standing there watching them do their ritual. And Linda Bradshaw, her whole encounters with the Bigfoot she called Big Girl, it was white. And to me, that was like, it was a moment that kind of resonated with me that, wow, it's always been here. Like these things have always been here. Like there's so much debate as to whether or not we think they're real, and we're relatively new to them. I think they just think it's funny. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, so there's not only I'm having encounters with them out here, but there's carvings all over out here of and paintings of Bigfoots and of Bigfoot footprints carved into the ground. And that's I found the first carving I found of a Bigfoot footprint was in the same spot I found first Bigfoot track in the dirt. And it's the best track I've ever found. I mean, you see every toe, the mid-tarsal break, it left a knuckle imprint as it followed me. And Tom was the one who told me that he doesn't know if anyone's ever recorded that before. Like finding a fresh track next to a 1,000-year-old carving of a track. So I'm interested in the connection out here between current activity and ancient activity as well.
I want to follow up that with the idea that there's a lot of Native First Nations legends around there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories from, how the mountains were created to the sun and the moon and everything in between. How much has the First Nations stories and the indigenous stories from the past really affected your relationship, not only with them, but with how you investigate?
Um, well, I like the fact that as I started learning about them, our ideas were very similar. They see these things as older, wiser than us. That's kind of what I see them. I see them as something more than human. Um, Cliff Mahudi told me that he was a Zuni, and he said that they had a word for them that meant the uncooked people, the raw people. Now, I thought that was interesting because if you cooked a person, they'd be hairless like us, right? So the uncooked people. But I've always heard that they're um, looked highly upon. They're never feared, really. They're very well respected by every tribal member I've met. Just recently, an elder um, messaged me on Facebook, and he does a ritual, and he has a Bigfoot that shows up to it, and he's actually going to come out here later this year, and he's going to come with me. And we're going to do we could do the ritual together, and I think Tom Dongo is going to come too. I'm like really, really, really looking forward to that. Like actually being a part of a ceremony with him, like dedicated to the phenomenon I'm actually encountering myself. Yeah, I'm like, that type of thing. You can't really pay for that. I think that's going to be quite an experience. So, I've gotten into a little bit. I've tried to take every opportunity I can to talk with any natives or tribal members that meet out here. I seem to get along with them really well. We have similar intentions and respects for the things that occur out here. A bunch of them have shared stories with me of things that happened to them when they were younger, encountering them. Almost all of them have seen footprints. Uh, to them, it's not a question of whether or not it's real. And I think that's why we can talk about it in the same way because, yeah, I'm not, it's, it's something that keeps happening. And I think you have to be okay with saying something exists that you don't understand. I think that really freaks people out to me. Hey, I also that's why there's not going to be this blanket disclosure from the government about UFOs. That's not how it works. They'll disclose something when they know all about it and can control the narrative of it. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. This is a subject that we don't have a grasp on, and I don't think we're supposed to necessarily. So, I'm not sure that blanket disclosure is going to come, at least not in like this generation. I think disclosure is going to be happening on a one-on-one basis more than anything else.
Well, when you were out there, let's talk about you a little bit as we got about 3 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Hoodoo Tall, Juergen Hess is with us tonight. The ranch itself, Bradshaw Ranch, is something of an enigma of its own.
Yeah.
There are areas you're allowed to go, there's areas that you can't go. When you were out there investigating, how do you draw the line between curiosity and legality?
Plead the fifth. I don't know. I haven't drawn a line. I don't cross the line. If it says no trespassing, I don't go there. I mean, I'm not trying to do anything wrong. I'm not trying to break any rules. I haven't seen a need to like push the limits. If you're at the ranch, the only place where it says don't trespass is the apple orchard because it's all fenced off and everything. I haven't seen myself uh, going anywhere on the ranch that it says I shouldn't go. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to do anything wrong, so I don't think I am either. It doesn't say that I shouldn't go in there. And you know what? Honestly, a lot of the time now, I'm not on the ranch house. I mean, I'm around it. I'm in the hillsides around it and stuff because they're appearing more so in the surrounding area. Uh, The ranch is cool because they built it in a part of the land that's special. It's not a haunted house. There isn't necessarily. I don't think there's anything particular about it being a ranch that is contributing to the phenomena, other than where they built it, honestly. And Ben Lone Tree, he's been able to help me figure that out. Like we've been measuring out there to see if there's geological things happening in the ground that could provide enough of a source of energy or power or something to make this stuff happen there more than other places. And there is 100%. Like it's off the charts there. Yeah. It's uh it's gonna get deep when we start looking at the science behind it, and there's a lot of science to it. And areas around the ranch and on the ranch are more powerful than any of the other vortexes in Sedona. And Ben has the authority to say that. He's been using equipment to measure the vortexes in Sedona for over 20 years now. He knows about them more than anyone I'm ever going to meet. And so, having him help me out and come out to the ranch and use that same equipment on the property at the house is one of the most helpful things I could have done because now when people ask why it's happening there, we can show them why. We can say, well, we're reading magnetism that's through the roof. There's electrical discharges coming out of the ground as strong as if lightning is going off nearby. And then Ben was so intrigued by what he was reading there, he built a new sensor that could detect positive ionization. And
I'm going to let you hold on right there because we are going to go to break here
yep.
at the bottom of the hour. We have Juergen Hess for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. What is happening in and around Sedona, Arizona? The weird monsters, weird creatures, and more. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we're clear, dude.
Yeah. I can't see if they ask questions, but Dave, if anyone wants to type a question, if they have one, if you could read it to me, I'll
Yep.
answer it.
Yep. No worries. I've got one question marked so far. So I'm tracking them, bud.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and for also to let people know that I think it's important that people who are into the subject get to experience it as well. Now, the creatures are one thing, but the UFOs are constant. And so this all started for me because I've come out here on camp trips for the summer solstice, June 21st. And even though I live here now, I'm still doing it. I'm still getting the same campsite where the Bigfoot came through, and I'm still going to go and sky watch. But I want to make sure that I let people know that and invite them to go get a campsite there too. Um, there's they have these big events for like CE5 meetings, and I'm not going to say any names, but they charge you like $2,000 to go and see UFOs. Like, no, you shouldn't be charged to have the experience. And so, if anyone is into this and can make the trip to Sedona, like I camp at Lolo Springs every June 21st and Skywatch. And if anyone wants to see UFOs, come to Sedona on the solstice, either camp at the campground or just get a day pass and come and Skywatch. And I want you to see it for yourself. You too. Like I'm gonna bug you, Dave, till you come. But
Good.
yeah, if you can do a solstice trip, I'm just gonna do it every year. Solstice Skywatch, and just whoever likes to camp by a creek and have fun and watch UFOs fly over your head, just come. It's really like, I mean, it's a magical thing to witness for yourself. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And it sucks people try to like charge for it. I think that's so weird. They're like so if people want to do CE5, I just have one recommendation is don't close your eyes when you do it. I think that's a really weird approach to be teaching because you can't see UFOs flying over your head when your eyes are closed. So if you're gonna do CE5 stuff, yep, go for it. Do the meditations, try it all. I just highly recommend not closing your eyes while you do it. Just keep your eyes open, looking up at the sky, and give it a shot that way.
And you don't have to pay $300,000
That's
to Stephen
yeah.
Greer to do it.
I wasn't gonna say any names, but yeah, yeah,
Oh, I'll do it. I did that the other night.
yeah. No, that's why I'm like, let's have a free event. Like, why? Like, I know so many people that said they would go to like one of his events if they could afford it, and I'm like, that sucks because you're not even guaranteed to see anything there. I'm like, as long as it's not cloudy here, you're gonna see them, if you have night vision or not. And so that was kind of like, for me, square one out here was camping in that campground, and so I'm just calling it square one for now. Like we all just started square one together. Just yeah. So we'll just do that each year. We'll have a camp out every solstice and Skywatch.
Well, if I can find the time, we'll look into it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, even if you didn't see anything weird out here, you're still like camping in one of the most beautiful places you could be. Like, there's no losing with that. There's no downside to it.
It'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I mean, red rocks, green trees, blue skies. It's pretty cool.
All right. We got about a minute and a half here.
Yeah. It always goes by so fast when we do this.
It does. It does. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. We've got a few questions coming up here for you. All right, 1 minute. Big thank you tonight to Carla, Mama Catherine, Son times 4, Big Dog, and Joe for the super chats. Very much appreciate your love and support. Don't forget, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, which means you can actually wear our stuff in public and be proud of it. More than just using it as a painting shirt or to go to garage sales. or digging up the garden, mowing the lawn. You know how it goes. Sunny side up, welcome to SOR Chat. And we got about 25 seconds here. I've had a frog in my throat the entire day. Feel great. Just a frog in my throat. All right. And about 7 seconds here, bud. Hey, we've made it to the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. I hope you're wearing as much tinfoil as I am for the woo that we bring to you on a nightly basis. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on every major podcast network or on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot and read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon and the Space Travelers Club. We're going to get to some audience questions now from our YouTube chat for Hoodoo Tall, Juergen Hess, who's been here the entire show so far. We have him till the top of the hour. Juergen, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, let's hear what some people have to say.
Silent Listen is asking, have you seen the recent lights that Melinda Leslie was so excited about? What do you think they could be?
Yeah, actually, so I've gone out maybe 4 or 5 times with her to get video of them. So I have a bunch of videos of those lights she's been talking about. They're really weird. I've been coming out here for years, and I haven't seen anything like it on the tour or otherwise. And Melinda's been doing this a long time, and to see her so excited about something is rare. I've never seen her get so excited. But then again, there's never been an event like this that's been ongoing for since like last September. I mean, it goes on for like an hour, and these big balls of light come up from behind the mountain and come down from the sky, and they kind of move in and they go, and there are military craft all over the place. And the one thing that keeps on my mind when I'm watching it is, and I'm gonna have to look up the math on it, what it costs in fuel for those military helicopters to hover for an hour, because we'll see sometimes like 12 to 15 helicopters up. That has to be in a budget somewhere. That's got to be a lot of money to just spend in fuel, let alone because where those they had to fly to this location from a base somewhere. And so, is this something that can be publicly tracked and kind of find out if there's some kind of operation going on or not? Because it's so bizarre that it's still going on. And I've even gone out to the ranch to watch it, which is a lot closer than where the tour is. And I still see it from there. It's still happening. I don't have night vision there, and I still see it. Yeah, it's definitely happening. I have no clue what it could be. To be honest, I'm really not into military stuff. I hear a lot of people talk about secret bases out here and all that, and I just really don't. It's not my thing. I don't know. I just figured let them do whatever they're doing, and I'm trying to study the weird phenomena. I'm not really into the military stuff, so.
But are they into you?
That's crossed my mind that they could be using me as bait. And at this point, if they're not, right, they should be. The reason I thought that is because one time it sure seems like there was a sniper on me, and he let me know he was there, and that was it. That was all he did, was let me know he was there, and I just kept walking and ignored him, and nothing happened. So now that could have been somebody.
Hold on a second here. How did you know there was a sniper on you?
A green dot and a. I mean, first of all, no sniper does that. I have a friend that back home was a Marine Scout sniper, and he's told me, I mean, snipers are like the baddest people on the planet, man. And so you don't grunt. They wouldn't grunt. So if he's doing that, he was trying to make sure I knew he was there. Now, it could have been somebody playing cowboy dressed as a sniper in a ghillie suit hiding in the bushes with a laser target as well. Could have been. Other than that, I've been followed 3 times, but they're never military people. They're always people in a white vehicle with no markings on it. The first time was a Jeep Wrangler, a bone stock white 4-door Jeep Wrangler. And the ranch for me to get there is about 8-9 mile dirt road. So I'm about 4.5 miles out on the road, about halfway. And the Jeep passes me going the other way. And as I look over, off-roaders, you wave at each other. The 2 guys driving this thing, they had neatly combed hair, sunglasses on a cloudy day, and collared shirts. And they didn't even glance in my direction. And as they passed me, I was like, that was weird. I was like, "God, it'd be weird if they turned around and followed me." Once again, one of those kind of intuition things. And I was like, "Yeah, why would they?" And I get to the ranch, I park, and I had to pee, so I go off in the bushes and peeing, and I hear a car coming, and I just decided to wait in the bushes. And sure enough, man, it was that Jeep. And this was weird. So I let them pass by me. And as they passed, I just said, "Well, I'll follow you." So I hiked up the hillside. I was just watching them and pacing them. Now they unlocked the gate. They drove into the ranch. I started following. I lost line of sight, and then they were gone. They did not drive out. They did not lock the gate. They did not even close the gate. They didn't drive out through that road, and I don't know any other exit out of there. So that was weird. The other 2 times it was a pickup truck, a white single cab pickup with a utility with a toolbox in the bed, and I have video of him. I did get video as he was driving out. Now that guy, same thing. I parked. I heard him coming a half a mile away, so I just waited in the bushes. Drove past me. Walked up on the hillside and watched him. I got some video from the hillside, so people don't think it like didn't happen. But he went into the house. He parked. He got out in front of the house, and man, he was not happy to be there. He got out, like looked around real quick, jumped back in his truck, peeled out, and he drove right out of there through the same way. He did not. He wasn't trying to look for anything. He was just making sure. I think nobody was standing around, obviously, because they're not looking very hard. But I don't know who those people were. They weren't rangers, they weren't military. So maybe there is some other type thing going on there. But yeah, no, I don't. I imagine they're watching all of us, but I'm not trying to uncover whatever it is they're doing. Like I've had friends that were in the military. I respect them a lot. So yeah, let the military do what the military does. I'm not gonna uncover some secret they're hiding. Like I don't know. It just seems like a waste of effort, kind of.
Well, it's still something you have to be paying attention to for your own safety. That's for sure. Let's go to
I
another
listen to the
question.
stories. Yeah, I listen to the stories of what people say, but I'm
Yeah.
just like when people say like, "Oh, we're gonna go find an underground base." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't need to do that. I'll just hang out at home." I'm just not.
Jamie is
It's not
asking, do you find any correlation between lunar cycles and your research?
yeah, definitely. I can tell you this. I'm not nearly as frightened when there's a full moon out as when there's a new moon out. Because when there's a full moon out, even a half a moon out, I can see really well out there. When there's a new moon out, you can't see your hand in front of your face. And man, that is terrifying. Not only is it really hard to walk around without lights, but it seems like any sound really kind of puts you on edge when you can't see anything. Now, as far as more than that, I can't really say that lunar cycles have affected the uh, manifestation of the phenomena at all. It's harder to see UFOs when there's a moon out. I mean, that just makes sense. The moon's bright, it's going to wash out some of the lights. But yeah, I recommend if you really want to have encounters or see anything, plan it around a new moon more than anything else. Yeah, it's just better for UFOs. And I can't say it's better for creatures, but a lot of people go looking for Bigfoot just to get scared, if that makes sense. Like why do we go to like a haunted house when we were kids, right? We're not going because we're going to uncover a secret of a haunted house. We're going to get that adrenaline rush of being frightened. And I think a lot of people, that's their kind of when they go ghost hunting or something, that's kind of part of the motivation is to kind of feel that rush. And if that's part of your motivation, uh, yeah, go on a new moon. It's it's pretty intense.
All
But maybe
right,
that has yeah, no, go ahead.
let's continue on here because we got a bunch of questions here to fit in the next 14 minutes. Sergeant wants to know, what equipment do you need to measure vortexes?
Oh, he made his own magnetometer, and then he made this other device that detects electrical discharges. I'm going to go over him a bit. Well, I've shot footage with him for Hoodoo Tall too, and so we're going to go over that. But you can also look him up, like on Facebook. His name is Ben Lone Tree, and his research goes back a long way. I think his website is Sedona Anomalies. Um, yeah, he could describe it better than I can. He made the stuff himself. He's a retired engineer, electrical engineer. I love going up to his house and like the first thing he'll do is give you a cup of plasma activated water. Like he's a real genius. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Aloha Dave is asking, do you think there is a connection with the vortexes and cryptids?
Yes, 100%. There's something going on that with the UFOs and the cryptids and everything. Why are they happening here in Sedona? I've camped in 49 other states and never seen anything like this. I do think that the energy, whatever energy is generating here, is causing the vortexes, is also supplying energy to the phenomena, probably. It seems that way. Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Sergeant again. We already asked that question. We don't do double ups here. All right, Jordan is wondering, what's the scariest or closest encounter you have had so far?
That was actually the first night I ever went to the ranch. And it was the scariest because it was such a violent action from a creature, and the two people I brought with me were scared for their life. So I was in the uncomfortable position of trying to calm them down. And so we went to the house, and I wanted to take Polaroid camera pictures in the front yard just to try to get photos like Tom and Linda used to get of people in the camera. And so the first camera click I took, all I heard was the camera clicking and ejecting the photo. My two friends were like, dude, tell me you heard that. I was like, I didn't hear anything. And so they're like, come here. And so we're waiting. And then it did it again. There was this creature. It was just on the other side of the dry creek. It was in the beginning of the Old West movie set. And this thing picked up a log. And there's a square like gate structure there. And it rang that log around that gate like a dinner bell. Like, I mean, it was the loudest sound I think I've ever heard, honestly, other than an explosion. And after that, like, I mean, we were stuck in a frozen in spot at that point. My two friends had like the blood rushed out of their face. They wanted to leave. I was like, stop, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave. And then it did it again, but now it was swinging it like a baseball bat, bashing the heck out of these buildings. And my friend literally said to me, it's 11:30 at night. And he's like, is there a construction crew out there demolishing the buildings? What's happening right now? I was like, calm, 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 calm. We heard it do this destructive sound 4 times. And then they said that we have to leave. And as they started to leave, I was standing there looking in the direction. And this thing was standing there looking at me. Now it was dark. All I could see was the outline of its head and its shoulders and glowing eyeballs. It had to be 15 to 20 feet tall to be looking at me over the trees. And its eyeballs, they looked at me, and I could tell as its head turned and walked away. And glowing eyes, the best way I could describe it are those old light bulbs that right after you turned it off, they would just kind of have that glow. They're not like bright, a flashlight, just kind of this weird, odd glow. They were like that, uh, orangey kind of eyeballs. And after we left, that was the most freaked out I've been because none of us could comprehend what the heck just happened to us and what the heck I just saw.
No kidding.
Nothing. Yeah, that's a tall thing. Yeah.
Brown Dwarf would like to know, have you had any dreams with these beings or creatures that have, seemed a little bit too real?
Surprisingly, no. I've had people tell me crazy stuff like they think I'm related to Bigfoot and all this stuff like that. Like the wildest stuff. But actually, no, I really haven't had any dreams I can recall about any of this stuff I'm encountering. That's kind of weird now that you mention it.
Gotta love it when it's weird, my man. Gotta
Uh-huh.
love it when it's weird. Hey, quickly before we get a few more questions, Where can people find your photos of your research or your videos?
Yeah, absolutely. I do post it to my Instagram quite a bit, which is at a baby raven. And you can kind of, I have a post on there that describes what the baby raven logo means and things like that. But I'm want people to be aware of what's happening out here. So I post a lot to the stories, and then I post content to the page now when it's something that's really bizarre. And like you can see the three-toed creature I was tracking. You can see a really great footprint of it there. The T-Rex footprint, you can see it. UFO pictures and videos, and I want. I don't want. I want it to be accessible. I don't want people to have to search really hard or pay money to view it. I want it to just be there and they can go look at it. Tell me what you think of it. You know, um, if you think you can figure something out that I haven't, let me know, because that's the only way. Collaboration is really valuable, and it's really probably the only way we'll figure any of this out.
All right, moving on here. Let us go next to Sergeant again. Is there any data available about the experiments you have been doing with these vortexes?
Yeah, Ben has it all. We're gonna show some of it in Hoodoo Tall 2, definitely. And if you want to know what's really interesting is I was able to get Ben to translate some of the data that we recorded from magnetism and convert it into sound so we could listen to it. And it's really, really cool sounding. We still have some more sections because I want to see if the phenomena out there is communicating with us in a way we haven't thought of yet. And when I looked at his data that he recorded, some of it looks like audio, like talking. And I want to take those clips and convert them into sound and see if the entities out there are communicating with us, and just maybe they're doing it through magnetism and we haven't thought of it yet. So that I'm anxious to go up to his house again and convert that and see what it says.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Sierra. Do you feel that the entities you encounter are of the light or more of the darkness?
I I can't I can't say I've ever felt anything negative at the ranch or out here. I've felt a lot of neutral things, if that makes sense. Like sometimes you feel like definitely of the light, and all the hair on your arm stands up and everything, and you really feel like, oh wow, it's almost kind of this really humbling feeling. You're like, I don't know if I even deserve to be around this being. But a lot of it is this kind of neutral feeling where it's kind of like you stepped into this weird bubble that they exist in for a moment, and you're on the same level as them for those moments. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. It doesn't feel light or dark most of the time. It's just kind of happening, and it's almost weird how it is so regular when it happens. You're like, wow, that just really happened. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it, really.
Let's rock on to the next question. Michelle wants to know, how do they show up all the time, boots on the ground, especially? That would be probably the
Creatures,
military.
military. Like I said, I haven't seen them. I hear a lot of stories of like people hiking like a couple miles out, and suddenly they're stopped by guys in like camo with machine guns, and they tell me I have to turn around, and then they'll say like, I've hiked that trail 10 times before and it's never happened. So I've heard people say like there's a base somewhere out there, and when they have the gates of the base open or something, like they have guards out. But I just don't go in that area. I don't know. There's so many areas out here where phenomena occurs. If I hear stuff like that, yeah, I just go find somewhere else where I'm not going to get stopped by guys with machine guns. I mean, it just seems like it's probably a benefit to me not to have a machine gun pointed at me.
Yeah, that's not very fun. That's not very fun at all.
No.
All right, let's move on to another question. Your son of Snake is asking, have you ever experienced mind speak?
Like where they're speaking to me telepathically, I would imagine.
Yes.
Oddly enough, the only time I can think that maybe is when I found the little tiny alien footprints, and I'm telling you, I could swear I heard in my head the two of them arguing, like one telling the other one, you were supposed to leave footprints for him to find. And the one saying like, I did, I swear to God, they're right there. He's not looking. And I heard that in my head and I looked down and there they were. So, so as ridiculous as it sounds, even to me to say it out loud, like, I don't know, that's how I found the tracks though. So other than that though, I don't feel like I have, and if I have, I've probably written it off as like my mind being imaginative. You know, I'm still trying to learn how to really open my mind up to accepting those things and knowing when it's really happening versus when I'm making it up.
That's the tough one for me.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what is my mind and what is actually happening. Let's go to Marie here. Have you ever found any of those stairways out in the middle of nowhere in the woods or in the mountains or wherever?
No, but I hope I do. That would be so cool. No,
Are you
no, I
going up?
haven't found anything.
If you find them, are you going up?
Absolutely. The same way when that creature roared, and I got it on camera, I decided, like, this is why I'm here. If the creature shows up, you go toward it. If the portal opens, you go in. If the UFO lands, you get on. You know?
Not me, man. I'm not going up necessarily. Just does not feel right.
I always joke with people who come out to the ranch with me, and I'm like, "Oh, by the way, if a portal opens up, I'm going in. You can have my truck though, so that you get that. That's cool."
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty amazing. We got 3 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you. And it's been a great show so far. What do you want people to know about your research and why you're doing it?
I'm doing it because I think that if I can provide enough evidence from what's happening out here, we can help normalize the subject a little bit. Normalize it meaning, you know, get past the debate of is this stuff real or not, and understand it's real, and get more people to focus on trying to study it in a way that gets results as well. Because I think it's not taken as real because, you know, how many Bigfoot shows you watch where they don't find anything? And they all take the same approach, right? They all go out there with all this tech and all these cameras, and it's like, we didn't get it. It's like, okay, can we eventually think of a new way to approach this? And you know, I did the legwork, and my approach seems to be working just because getting results. You know, with the UFOs now, I'm asking them questions and they're replying. I haven't seen many other footage like that. I haven't seen many other people putting in the like that want to commit to doing the legwork and living a life where you can do the research. But I do want people to know if they're into UFOs, because that's a guarantee out here. The creatures, that's up to you. They'll come out if they like it. The UFOs, you can see them every night. It isn't cloudy. And if people are fascinated by them, and if you're questioning whether or not they're real, just come out and see them. Schedule a trip around a new moon, or come when I'm camping on the June 21st, and come out and skywatch. You don't need to go on a UFO tour, but if you want night vision, go out with Melinda, and it's incredible what you'll see. And I hope that, you know, as I put together my thesis for my PhD and, you know, have this collection of evidence, I'm going to turn the thesis into a book and add photos and everything. And I really just hope that we can start to not laugh at this subject, or, you know, not say it's not real because I grew up and I always thought it wasn't real. You know, it's funny because when I ask people, why don't you think it's real? They're just like, well, I don't know. It's like, okay, well, you know, try looking at some of the evidence and maybe you'll see it's real.
I hear you there, my man. Hear you there. Hoodoo Tall, how can people reach you?
You know what? Honestly, people message me on Instagram all the time, and I get back to them. That's the easiest way for me to communicate with people. Yeah, if you have questions or if you're going to come out to the area and you want to go researching together, yeah, just let me know. It's usually a lot of fun.
All right.
You know, yeah.
Appreciate you coming on again, Hoodoo. And thank you very much for coming back on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next to kick off hour number 3 after the break, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then it's UFO Court with Courtney Marcassani. She's got her hair down tonight, so you know it's serious. We'll be right back with hour 3 of the show right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'll keep you posted when episode 2 is ready.
Do that. All right, brother.
All right. Thanks,
Take
man.
care. All right. Hoodoo Tall, everybody. Great guy. Great guy. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're coming back with hour number 3, and we'll be right back. All right. Let's get ready for hour 3 here. We got like a minute and a half. Anything else move? Great show so far, and it's going to be a great show here for hour 3 as well. And I'm all excited. Courtney Marcassani is back for UFO Court. By the way, got to meet her in Reno. She's phenomenal. Taller than I expected. I expected about 5'5", 5'6". No, she's about a 5'8" or 5'9" people. Big thank you tonight to all of our super chatters. CS, Aloha Dave, Carla, Mama Catherine, Sun times 4, Big Dog, and Joe. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. We have stuff you're actually going to want to wear. Hey, there's little Terry Hall and his fabulous mustache. Good to see you, Terry. Hope you're having a great night. Thanks for hanging out with us. Then we got about 5 seconds coming up here. Here we go. All right, let's kick off hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Welcome back to the show. My name is Dave Scott, and I'm always happy to be here for your listening ears. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We very much appreciate you tuning us on in, and thank you for your love and support each and every night. And let's go to the Desert Clam. He's got the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Narishkite. Narishkite is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let us say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. A young boy wandered the streets of Nuremberg, Bavaria, Germany, seemingly able to do little more than write his name and communicate that he wanted to be a cavalryman, just as his father was. The boy was found bearing 2 letters in his pocket. The first read, to Captain von Wiesning. Caspar Hauser was attained as an infant, taken in, educated at home, has never left the confines of the house. Caspar wishes to be a cavalryman, just as his father was. Either take him in or hang him. The second letter, penned by the same person, read, Caspar Hauser is my son. His father is no longer alive. I haven't the means to care for the boy. He wishes to become a cavalryman. The letters were in the same handwriting and were supposedly the mother of the boy, or at least someone communicating they were his caregiver. At any rate, the boy could only speak his name and the word horse. When offered food, he would only consume bread and water. He knew little of daily life functions such as money, basic grooming and hygiene, reading, writing, and social skills. People in Nuremberg wondered if the boy was in fact a feral child raised by beasts in the forest, as that would certainly explain his lack of social skills and being happy to survive on the most basic of foods. But if this were the case, who could have written the letters? As Caspar was able to learn to function in society, he began to tell a story of being raised in a cellar with little room, just enough to hunch over in, and a few wooden toys to keep him company. He claimed he had never laid eyes on his caregiver, but was given a straw cot to sleep on, water and bread every morning, and lived completely alone in this dungeon. Then one day, a mysterious man came for him and taught the youngster how to walk, say the phrase, I want to be a cavalryman, just as my father was, and the word horse. This man was the first person Casper had ever had contact with within his short life. Casper didn't know what any of the words he spoke meant, but he was able to remember them by repetition before being released. As his story spread around Germany, others would repeat it in travels around the world, and soon Caspar Hauser was a bit of a celebrity, yet still an enigma. People either thought his story was true and felt sorry for him, or they reckoned he was an outright liar. A schoolmaster by the name of Friedrich Dahmer took the boy in and began to teach him in a wide variety of subjects, which Casper seemed to pick up rather easily, further driving speculation that he was lying about his origins. October 17, 1829, would find Casper in the cellar of his home when he was attacked by a hooded intruder that left a gash on the boy's forehead. Having missed lunch that day, Dahmer came across the dazed boy, who was able to recount the attack and state that the intruder sounded just like the man that had brought him to Nuremberg originally. Casper said he was threatened by the man before he cut a gash into his forehead, and then as quickly as the attack had begun, the man was gone. Casper hid in the cellar until he was found later that day by Dahmer. After this, Caspar Hauser was moved into a care facility and was left in the charge of a woman named Joanne Bibetbach. However, he would be no safer there than he was in his last quarters. On April 3, 1830, a gunshot coming from Caspar's room caught the attention of Joanne. Pressed for the events leading to the gash now on his temple, he explained he was trying to relieve books from a shelf and had knocked a gun from the wall, causing it to fall and discharge, hitting him in the head. The wound was little more than a graze, but Caspar was moved again to another location for his own safety. This time he would stay with a landowner by the name of Baron von Tutscher. It was at this juncture that the boy's reputation started to take a hit. Both Joanne and Tutscher accused the boy of being skilled in the art of dissimulation and full of vanity and spite. Rumors began to spread that the attack by the knife-wielding intruder and the accidental gunshot wound was a ploy created by Caspar to get people to feel sorry for him. A British nobleman took the boy in next. Lord Stanhope spent a large amount of resources to track down the boy's past accounts of his childhood, but was unable to substantiate any claims that initially opened the doors of many willing to care for Caspar Hauser. Yet again, Caspar would be passed to at least 2 more caregivers that would echo the misgivings of former charges. One even going so far as to state, Caspar Hauser is a smart, scheming codger, a rogue, a good-for-nothing, a ne'er-do-well that ought to be killed. Caspar's tragic end would be just as mysterious and rife with the enigma that was his life. On December 14, 1833, the boy would wander into his home with a deep gash to his chest, stating that he had yet again been attacked by a knife-wielding man near the center of town. Police investigating the claim would find a purse on the ground with a letter inside that read, "Hauser will be able to tell you quite precisely how I look and from where I am. To save Hauser the effort, I want to tell you myself from where I come. I come from the Bavarian border, on the river. I will even tell you the name M.L.O." Police were unable to verify the letter's origin or attain any other clues, but Caspar would pass away on December 17, 1833, from the chest wound. His headstone in the local cemetery has a death date and little else.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great story. If you want more, just head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing, and you get them right there. From the missing to the mysterious, Courtney Marcassani opens up UFO Court. Bring down the gavel.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, UFO Court now in session. And we love it when Courtney Marcassani is here. And you know what? It was so awesome to meet you last week. It really was. And I appreciated getting to see you and shake your hand, give you a hug, and finally see what UFO Court was all about.
Yeah, well, it was quite the journey. You know, it took me a long time to get over there. There was weather in Montana when I left. And so it was a harrowing journey. I'll just say that. But the weather got a lot better when I got into Idaho and was able to get into Nevada. And then it became really beautiful. It was a gorgeous drive. It was worth it. It was worth it to make it there, to meet everybody.
Oh, we loved you there. And thank you so much for being a part of the SOR family and the SOR fan party. It was just a great weekend indeed in Reno, Nevada, at the Silver Legacy Casino Resort. And we cannot wait to do it again next year. Different location, because we want to move it around a little bit, just a tad, wee bit, as they say. But thank you for being a part of it. It really meant a lot to me.
Well, somebody heard on SOR that I didn't have a place to stay. So a friend actually contacted a family member and they actually put me up, which was really nice. So I got to meet those wonderful people. They put me up at their spare room. I got to know them and their family. And so that was also another really great part of Reno. And they owned a restaurant. They, gave me coupons to eat there. I mean, such generosity. It was pretty amazing. And they lived up in the hills. So I got to look out over Reno that night and see over Reno. So I got some pretty nice experiences there for the short time I was there. And I was very grateful to the people that were nice to me and gave me hospitality. It was pretty incredible.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Gotta love people sometime.
Yeah.
Gotta love people for how they are giving. That's for sure. Speaking of giving, there was the Vatican giving a press conference.
Mhm.
And this is a weird one because they were talking about the phenomenon. I swear they've been listening to this show. They must be listening to this show talking about the weird and the woo, because they were full on tinfoil in basically saying that the phenomenon is real and we have to be aware of it, but it's not all bad. It's not all good. There are ghosts out there. There are creatures out there. There are aliens out there. I just didn't expect this, Courtney.
Wow, I didn't get any of that. That's so interesting that that's all your takeaway from it when I got something totally different. So, where did you hear a mention of aliens? Because I never heard that. That's the first thing I got to ask you about.
Well, a number of years ago, Pope Francis actually proclaimed that if aliens are coming to Earth, if they want, he would baptize them.
I had heard that they had set up some kind of official, it was either a press release or it was some kind of international conference there. And they were talking about, this was a while ago, and they were talking about the idea if there was extraterrestrials in the galaxy, that they would be included underneath God's, purview, because that didn't just hold for humans. But I didn't hear that in the press release today. I didn't hear them say that there were aliens and that they were giving them credibility. That part I didn't get out of the press release.
Well, what did you get out of it?
I got out of it that there had been numerous stories and talk and apparitions and things that had been seen, but that they were not conclusive by the Vatican's viewpoint, and that this new protocol, their list of like 5 or 6 different types of conclusive, basically like statements by the Vatican to vet these very different apparitions or experiences, had to go through this process by the Vatican. Otherwise, they were not considered serious or not considered holy by the Holy See's office. So that's what I took away from it. And I read the list of the different categories and I read some interpretations. And for me, looking at it, it looked like they were tightening up and ratcheting down on their protocol so that there weren't people trying to exploit supernatural experiences. That's what I took away from it.
See, I took away from it a little bit different. And this is why we have these conversations.
Yeah.
As my hands, radio people can't see my hands, but my hands are going all over the place because I was just very interested in this. I took away from it that they were having a little bit of confirmation, basically explaining that these phenomenal acts are very real. We have to beware because they're not all positive. It made me feel that they were really proclaiming that miracles are real and can be confirmed by the church, and that they were very open to the fact that people are communicating. But they said use discernment with, because you may not be communicating with the spirit that you think you're communicating with. So I got a totally different view of this. And I was excited by it because I think this was a step forward in the fact that as everything starts to open up, that it really shows, at least to me, that the phenomena is interconnected. The church seems to realize that. And even though they're telling you not really to play with it, they're saying, yeah, well, if you do, you do. Just be careful.
Well, I have a question that I put out there to the Fight Club group, which was, what was Chris Bledsoe's experience categorized, or how was that conclusive when the Vatican was taking his case, by Diana Pasulka and Timothy Taylor? I think he might have been involved in that as well. I'm not exactly sure if he was directly involved, but I know they went to the Vatican afterwards. And were given access to a certain area in the library. But she wrote about that in her book about Chris Bledsoe and his case. And Bob McGuire has also talked about Chris Bledsoe's case and the Vatican and his supernatural experience going to the Vatican. So I asked that, in the group today, what was his case, basically categorized as, and there was just crickets. Nobody said anything. And so I think that's actually a very valid question right now, considering his experience, went straight to the Vatican with these religious scholars, taking it to the Vatican to ask them to weigh in on it. And obviously the CIA has given it credibility. And he is, talked about very in high regard by the people in the CIA. So I had that question as a burning question today after these protocols came out, because one of the things that made me think of that was his case came out and I think went to them around 2017 or 2018. And they just revamped these protocols starting in 2018 or 2019. So I wondered, one, if there was a connection, two, if they ever formally said what his experience was categorized as, but there's been no answer yet. So I'm going to keep asking that, because I think that is an important question in this release, in this press release, because his case was obviously high enough profile that went to the Vatican. So it'd be interesting to hear what they thought of it officially.
I think it's a story that we have to continue with. I really do believe that, because I think that there's a lot more to this that could open up. We know the Vatican, when they speak, they don't speak for long. They usually don't comment and have press conferences about this kind of stuff afterwards. But nonetheless, I find the timing intriguing. What do you think of the timing?
Well, I think this is like I said, they started it in 2018 and kicked it off in 2019, redoing these protocols. So it's been, it's quite a few years in the making. And I do think that it has a lot to do with the language around the biblical miracles and angels, in the even in your local diocese, they take these things really seriously. Like, if you want to say that you have a miracle, it really has to go through all these different chains of your local diocese to even, and it goes up even higher to prove that it was a miracle. So I think they're actually tightening up. I know your opinion might be a little different about it, but I think they're actually tightening up their their categorization around miracles and angels and other things, and so that things are not being misinterpreted by the viewpoint of the church. That's what it seemed like to me. And so I think it's probably because there have been more sightings and supernatural events that people are experiencing and want to calling them holy. And I think the church wants to weigh in on that more and have stricter rules about it.
Well, we're going to see how this goes, how it plays out. But nonetheless, a great topic to start off indeed. And thank you so much for filling us in on that. Let's go to Lou Elizondo here, because it's been quite loud lately on X, which, after really months of relative silence, Elizondo continues to speak out about his upcoming book, about the critics that are already in on it. Has the press gathering and the advertising already began for this book that's allegedly now supposed to come out this fall?
Well, we had said on the SOR that the book was coming out in the fall, regardless of the date, and so did another disclosure news outlet. But then Lou called in and corrected them, said all their information was wrong. And as you know, I contacted his producer to find out if I could get the real date, and he didn't answer. He said, talk to Lou. And then Lou had come out on Twitter that same day and said that he was still working on it. It was still coming out. But everything else was fake news. And so to continue to watch, but he was still in process. So I saw that he put on Twitter his publisher's, stamp there at the building. And also that he was in New York with, maybe it was New York. I'm not exactly sure where he was, but with Matt Laszlo and Keith Taylor. So there was obviously a gathering where they were, celebrating. So I think that he, is coming back out because his book and his documentary is coming out. I think that the thing that's making it more complex is that he's talking about the threats now, and that he has a personal threat and the whistleblowers have been threatened. And so I think that that's complicating, obviously, his plan to some degree.
Let's talk about these threats, because this isn't the first time we have heard this. We heard it from David Grush. We've heard it from scientists. We've heard it from researchers who've been in the deep and ugly of this subject. Tell me about these threats.
Well, I mean, you hear about them. I was hearing about threats to Lou in February, actually. When I was on the East Coast, I had heard that he was, upping his, hypervigilance, around his house. And, it's just very concerning. And he's not the only one, obviously. He said that there were other threats against other whistleblowers. And then there was an article that was put out today that I read by someone who's saying that there was a whistleblower who was actually killed. And that was the first that I heard of that. So I started checking into that and finding out if that's a verified story. And so far it is that there was a whistleblower who was killed. And so I'm sure the reason why they're taking everything so seriously is because somebody else has already passed away, a whistleblower. So we'll know more about that, I guess, as things unfold. I don't know if they're going to name his name or not. But I know that from the article that I read, he was in the programs. And the article was just basically saying very seriously that these people are taking disclosure very seriously, and they're doing it for their own reasons about being in the programs, and they're being targeted for it. The article even went so far as to say they're being picked off. They're being picked off. Whistleblowers are being picked off. So I don't know. I mean, that's very serious language. It's very specific, saying there's multiple people that have been killed or murdered. So I think that they should have to follow up with that reporting and saying how many people were actually killed. If it was more than one, they should tell the public that, and certainly the whistleblowers.
I would agree with you on that, because, these threats aren't just, people spouting off on X or sending an email from a Proton Mail account or something along those lines. From what I'm hearing, that these threats are internal. And it gets a little scary when all of a sudden, threats to your livelihood, your family, your financial, record that you have, everything. It's not pretty when this stuff happens. And
What do
is
you
this?
mean it's internal, Dave?
We'll talk about that when we return on Spaced Out Radio with Courtney Marcassani.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. I heard that some of these threats were actually coming from inside.
Inside the program?
Just all I heard was inside from the, what do they call that? The cabal that's allegedly running everything. Now, do I have proof on that? No. No, I'm just stating what sources have told me.
All right. Are you going to do shout outs to your folks in the chat? I'll be right back.
I can do that.
Okay.
See if anybody new is coming here. Tokeland. How you doing, man? Good to have you here. Dino Bravo, thanks for coming on in. I think we're caught up. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Leela Bresh, welcome. Casey Ryback, good to see you. The Cabal. All right. Let's go here for a second. There we go. Got that set up. We all having a good time tonight?
I'll tell you what, I keep a loaded 22 by my bedside now.
I do.
I'm not joking. I went to the Western Sportsman and talked to those guys, and they helped me out. And they're like, "So you go into the range?" I was like, "Yeah, a little bit of range, a little bit of varmints." I was like, "Do you have any, buckshot?" And they're like, "No, you want the one with the spread?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "You shooting rattlesnakes?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, or whatever." Whatever comes on the porch in the dark of night, they're gonna get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi, chatbot Marco. Good to see you. Oh man, how was your ghost?
I don't know. It's really odd. I went and, I got the pistola and loaded it up, and I went up into the crawl space and crawled around like Rambo. Everybody's like, "Are you going to put the paint on and everything and the fatigues?" And I was like, "Well, it's pretty dark in there." So I was thinking about setting up a night camera, like one of the Ring cameras with a motion detector to see if I can see anything. But yeah, it's definitely moving around. It's either that or there's squirrels or something living up there. But I didn't see any varmints in the crawl space. So I don't know what it is. It's really interesting. It's shuffling. It sounds like somebody's dropping marbles over my bedroom at night. It's really, really weird. Very strange. Unusual.
I've been having weird stuff in the studio here.
Have you? Like what?
My Bigfoot light here. It has gone since I put it up there.
Yeah.
It has gone. I come in at night, and I turn everything off at night in here. All the lights, all the computers, everything. Turn it all off at night. And I've walked into my studio here now 3 times, and this light has been on.
Really?
I walk in. And then there's like the other night, I think it was Wednesday night, someone saw an orb flying back here, and I've caught an orb flying right by me here, and something tonight up here by this was moving. Oh yeah. Lots of weirdo stuff in here right now.
That's spooky. Do you think
Yeah.
that's a product of Reno and coming back from the ghost tour and everything? Because I saw some other chitter chatter about there being things that people brought home and whatnot. Or was that before Reno?
No, I think, well, this sticky note here is for one of my audience members. Hold on. Here we go. Final half hour, Spaced Out Radio and UFO Court is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott, and we always appreciate bringing this show to you each and every night. Reminder to all of you that if you miss most of this show or others, you can always check out our archives for free. We're on every major podcast network. You can download those for free or watch it for free on YouTube at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with UFO Court here. Courtney Marcassani is proud to be with us for an update on all things UFO. And we love it when she's here. Welcome back, Courtney.
Hey, good to be back. We were talking about, before the break, we were talking about the whistleblowers and threats. And I was just saying, you know, what does inside mean before we cut? And you said,
That's right. I said, from what I am hearing, now I'm not saying it's accurate. All I'm saying is what I am hearing is that sources have stated to me that the threats to Lou Elizondo are not just public threats on X or social media or emails, that some of them might be coming from the actual inside of the Pentagon, because there's a lot of people who don't like this. And there's this cabal that we hear all about that is actually running the whole UFO story, and it might be coming from them. Not sure. Once again, hearing it from sources, so I'm not hearing it firsthand. And this is just what I'm hearing.
yeah, well, that was addressed. I haven't seen it, but I've seen the clips of it, of Ross Coulthart weighing in on the Good Trouble show with Lou Elizondo and about the threats. And Ross Coulthart put out a shot across the bow and basically said, I know who the gatekeepers are. And he intimated that it was part of the DOD and that he had the names, and that if this went further, he was going to release the names. And that got a lot of criticism on X today. I did see a lot of people just saying that, just challenging what Ross is saying. But Ross is saying the same thing. So maybe that's where that part of the cabal part of it is coming from, or the inside. That might be directly where it's coming from, was the Good Trouble show interview that Ross weighed in on.
All right, let's continue on here, because there is a story about somebody who you have chatted with before, I believe, in Congressman Tim Burchett. Now, in a recent interview with Fox, he stated that the U.S. government would have about 270 days to release all UFO-related documents to the public if a new congressional bill is passed. And Burchett is leading the way for UFO transparency and will introduce a new bill next week that would require President Biden to direct the heads of each federal department or agency to declassify all documents related to UAPs, also known as UFOs. Quote, it's simple. They spend all of the time telling us they don't exist, then release the files, dang nabbit. You know, it's a strong statement when somebody says dang nabbit. They mean it. The UFO or UAP Transparency Act is what it's called. It'll be introduced on Thursday. He goes, I don't want some crazy fancy name for it. I just want them to do exactly what the bill is about. And then he goes on to say, this isn't about little green men or flying saucers from outer space. It's about just getting the job done. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, there was a really clear timeline when the NDAA was passed in December and Biden signed it. That set the timing forward for this basically like recordization release of all the records related to UAPs, UFOs, historical records. Anything over 25 years was supposed to be released, immediately without any kind of holdups. Anything within the 25 years was supposed to be weighed in on essentially by these different committees, armed service committees and intelligence committees. So there's various different silos that have discretion over what gets released, because if it has anything to do with sources or methods or technologies, then they would have discretion over it. But obviously the president would get to weigh in and have final say on whatever does get released. So there was a very clear timeline. It was like 300 and some odd days, and that ends up being October of this year. So that's why you're seeing this ramping up about releasing the records, release it now, because the archivists are the ones who are going to be in charge of this, and also probably staffers for these different representatives in these committees. They'll also be responsible for previewing everything. So it is very complicated. I think Burchett is trying to cut through some of the complications and saying, make it simple. But the hang up around that is any of these committee members, specifically probably armed services, will probably hold back, a lot of the records that they feel should still be classified. So it's not going to be the smoking gun that people want it to be, but it will likely give us a lot of historical context. Like, Danny Sheehan talked about the Project Blue Book classified files and that he had access to them. So we know some of that might get released, maybe finally. So it is complicated, but that's what they're talking about. And that's what Burchett is also talking about. And so Burchett basically is lobbying. I think he sent in a 2-page document asking for, records to be released immediately. There's also supposed to be another hearing. Gillibrand has recommended a hearing. There's supposed to be another hearing in the fall. So I think the documents release will also fill in some gaps for these hearings that are upcoming, or the hearings might push more of the documents to be released.
Do you really think it'll pass? I think it's wishful thinking, but I don't think it'll pass.
Which, the Schumer amendment, the 2.0, the redo?
Yeah, what Burchett is trying to bring out, where every alphabet agency basically has to spill the beans on what they know about UFOs or UAP.
Well, I'm sure you can guess how I feel about it.
I know, but this is a talking show for our radio audience.
I think that there are so many complexities around the UFO issue that it's really hard to tease out, for one. Two, I think it's hard to get congressional support still, even though there has been some congressional reps who have been read in to a certain degree by the insiders like Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo and maybe even David Grush. So I think that there has been reach into Congress to give visibility to the secrecy. And, Burchett goes as far to say it's a cover up. I mean, he said that in the hearing multiple times. So I think that we might get some historical stuff, but I don't think it's going to be as relevant as we want it to be going into something like a back engineering program. No, I don't think we're going to get those documents, because I think that the groups. Here's why. I think the groups that got the money, the IRAD money that was discussed, and the FAR money in the hearing, that they got that money to develop things, whether it was tech or whether they got a piece of a metamaterial or whatever. And if they developed their own technologies or advancements in aerospace or whatever, or medical, whatever corporation that got it, they are not going to want to give up their royalties for those technologies that they may advance with IRAD or FAR monies. And so that's where the blockade is. They're not going to want to release any records that would implicate them in their money making, in their profit margin. So I think that's one of the reasons why we won't get anything on back engineering or anything on tech.
Here's what bugs me about Burchett. This is a guy who has screamed for transparency throughout this entire or its entire time that he got involved with this and gained interest, built a name for himself around this. And yet we haven't had much transparency out of him at all. You know, and all of this information, and I understand why, has been hidden behind skiffs, behind closed doors, where people have talked. None of the information has become public, like he said. So who are we really doing this for? Are we doing this for Tim Burchett so that way he can know for himself? Is that the transparency we're looking for? Or do you think that he actually, dang gummit, wants to bring transparency to the American and world public?
He wants the money. He wants to get money. He wants to find the money. He is pursuing that interest to break open the black budgets where the money is. That is his main goal. I know that from talks with his senior policy advisor. They want to find the corruption and they want to find the money. And he's talking more and more, and he has been this whole time, about the lost money, how much is being spent. They don't even know. I just saw a sound bite from an article I read about him saying that there's, tens of millions of dollars. And I questioned that, in the Fight Club group, saying tens of $1 million, that seems low. And somebody weighed in and said, that's probably just the Aero budget that he's talking about. And so I was like, okay, well, that's a good bit of information, because there's a heck of a lot more money than just tens of $1 million being spent. So I think that that's what his agenda is. I think he wants to find out where the money's going. But as far as this other stuff, I think he's waded into even pontificating about things like angels and saying that it's their opinion, him and several other people's like Luna and Gates, that these are angels, that NHI is most likely, biblical in context. And so I think that also muddies the waters a little bit about his role in this and transparency. And so we can't forget that as we move forward, questioning his motives.
All right. But are his motives for the public? Does he have the public interest at heart? I don't see that. I see him having his own interest at heart, not the public's, because when I see these politicians screaming transparency, and it doesn't matter whether it's about UFOs, it could be about, narcotics, it could be about government budgets, or, is somebody wearing a Rolex or not? I see them, saying the things that we want them to say. Look at Kristen Gillibrand. She wanted the hearings, she got the hearings, and now she's really nowhere to be seen again on this UFO topic. I just don't see it being a very honest conversation. And I think the transparency is for the Congress people, and they can hide it from the American public just the same.
Look, I don't think this is a popular topic for any of them. I don't think this is a topic that they would willingly jump into if they had their druthers. I think that this, on some level, for each of them, is a personal decision to pursue it in the name of justice to some degree for the American people. So I do feel that is part of their inspiration to follow it up. But then when you start to get into the complexities around the money, the contractors, re-election, the committees that they're on, we've already heard that some committee members have been threatened if they pursue talking about UFOs or tech or putting aerospace companies in jeopardy through any kind of investigation, that they're going to lose their seat in their committee, and that they'll lobby against them and find somebody else to fill their seat and oust them. So I don't think it's a topic that Congress people want to get into, but once they're into it, obviously you can see, if you've been watching this for long enough and watching them long enough, you can see the power politics at play and who is in power and who has the money and who's calling the shots. There's some serious shot callers, and they're not the Congress people. They're the people that hold the strings, the purse strings, the corporations.
Of course. And that's the military industrial complex. We got 6 minutes to go here before we have to wrap things up. When you look at everything that's going on right now, what stories are catching your eye?
I think that what's really interesting is that there are more people coming out. They might not be coming out in the public arena to share their stories, but they are sharing their stories privately with other experiencers, either in the intelligence community, former intelligence community, and they want to share and connect with others. They're coming out and never have shared their stories before. So that's something that I think is really interesting that's happening right now. I also think it was interesting that Dr. Stephen Greer dumped all of his documents on his disclosure website to support what's going on in the community. I think that's interesting. I mean, a lot of people could say that it's worthless, but I don't think it is. I think you have to look at the overwhelming support by everybody in this community, trying to help the whistleblowers and trying to help move the ball forward. What I see is a very clear agenda that I'm tracking that is basically in a small network of insiders who have control over moving things forward, like the Schumer Amendment. And they are not departing from their plan, but they're not including anybody in it either. So that's the other thing I'm watching.
I want to talk about that Stephen Greer thing, because I looked at, his new project for his website to build the archive website. The donations were ridiculous.
I heard there was $200,000. If you donated $200,000, you could have a private meeting with him.
But no CE5, no CE5 until 350,000.
I didn't see that, but I did hear about it. And I'm thinking to myself, why mingle money with a really altruistic thing like dumping the records? Just dump the records, be supportive.
Well, for a $125,000, he will give you his personal Jeep Rubicon hybrid. He's not going to autograph it, though. We don't think.
Wow.
But you'll get his Jeep hybrid, which has an estimated value being a used vehicle of about $48,000 American.
I heard he has one of the biggest solar farms in Virginia, the state that he lives in. I did hear that. I thought that was interesting.
3.5 minutes to go. Want to hit you up with a question from Super Crazy here, who is asking, what do you expect from Carl Nell at the SALT conference next week?
So Super Crazy. This is really wild because I was excited to go to the SALT conference when I saw David Grush was going to be there. And I was working my inside contacts to get in on a press pass because, of course, I can't afford $15,000 to get into the event. Who can, if you're not Jamie Dimon? So I was working my contacts in journalism to get in there, and it was looking like I might be able to get in. And then he wasn't going to go. So I backed off of it. But then I saw Nell was going. And so then I was kind of bummed that I didn't press forward with that and gain admission, because I would really like to hear what he was going to say. But if I had to predict what he's going to say, I would say that he's going to do a recrafting of the Soul Symposium slides that he did, where he was talking about historical issues, catastrophic disclosure, the narrative disclosure by the government. I think that's what he will do, but I think he will also add NHI into it, because I think that's where he might add some new information is giving context to NHI, to these financial business people. And the reason why I say that is because when David Grush went to New York and did the secret meeting, there were people there that were investors. And so that's where the crossover is, where you see these Crunchbase people and Bitcoin and all that, and investment strategies into, once again, technology. So I think he might talk about that, NHI and technology.
Yeah. For people who don't understand, we got about 2 minutes here. I was just going to ask you if you could quickly break down why would what is the SALT conference for people who may not know, number one, but number two, what would be the importance of, these business people listening to UFO whistleblowers, storytellers, people from the inside?
Well, I think it's to, even at the Soul Symposium, it was about fundraising, fundraising for different types of tech. There were people there from Berkeley. There was another doctoral student there doing tech for, doing stuff in the sky, identifying UAPs. And so there's the money aspect in tech would be one to identify and support financially startups that are doing that work. The other thing, I think SAL is a financial think tank group that brings together all the top financial people in the markets to talk about futures and what's happening and emerging markets and emerging futures in finance. So I think that the reason why NHI and why tech would be brought up in that community is basically to impress upon them that this is a whole other area of science that needs to be looked at for investment strategies and futures. It would be like futures of energy, but instead it might be futures of tech, of NHI tech. That's just my futuristic way of looking at it.
Courtney, it's always a pleasure to have you here on UFO Court with us weekly. It's amazing, the information that you possess and what you're researching on a daily basis. You need to be proud of yourself for the hard work that you do.
Thanks, Dave. It's great to be back. It's great to give the shakedown of what's going on in the field. And dadgabbit, if I didn't get to the SALT conference, there's other people there that, besides Nell, would be very important to listen to.
Courtney Marcassani, everybody, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Adventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night, everybody.
Hey, thanks, Aloha Dave, for reminding me that it was Anthony Scaramucci that started SALT. I think that I saw conversations about Scaramucci and people giving him shout outs about SALT, but that's a good reminder. And then I also think it's interesting that Casey Ryback put in the exact verbiage in case there was any question. SALT is a global investment platform connecting institutional asset owners with innovative asset managers and technology entrepreneurs. So if you didn't get it from my, my shakedown of what they are. He gave the official, looks like the official mission and vision of that organization. So good on you, Casey Ryback.
Rock on. Rock on.
And no, I'm
people.
not a fan of Anthony Scaramucci. If you get that from my timbre of
Got a
my
scary
voice.
last name.
Well, he was involved in stuff in the campaign. I'm not going to go into it because it's political, but anybody can look it up online. I just lost a lot of respect for him.
You know, every time I hear his last name, I think of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
You know, Scaramouche, Scaramouche, will you do the fun
Go the lightning that is frightening me. Galileo, 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 Figaro. Oh, Figaro.
Exactly.
I see a little man in a silhouette. Scaramouche, Scaramouche.
Now you're feeling it. Now you're feeling it.
I'm awake now, Dave.
Rock on. When do you make your way home?
Well, I'm going to go to Contact in the Desert.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, well, I don't have accommodations down there either because I wasn't going to go. And then it appeared that I should go. So it was an audible. I pulled an audible on that. I would have already have gone home, but since there is going to be a lot of gathering, I'm probably going to take one of my tents and camp in an RV park because there's no accommodations left and latecomers don't get hotel spots. So I have friends down there at the Chateau Relaxo is what they call it. So I sent my friends an email to say, hey, I'm coming down. Maybe they'll offer me a couch or their bungalow out by the pool. Who knows? I did a reach out. We'll see what comes of it. I've had good luck so far. People taking me in, my poor butt.
Wow. That's awesome, actually. That's awesome. I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah, well, I might not even I might not even pay to go to like the events. I might just hang out around and hang out with the experiencers, you know? I mean, that's really what I'm going down for. Because I've seen a lot of the speakers before and I'm not into paying a lot of money right now for speakers.
I hear ye.
You know? I've kind of done that. I've actually paid a lot of money to hear speakers and do the conferences and the academic stuff. And, you know, it's just a lot of money out of your pocket. And so I'm, you know, having to pay for gas to get down there. And, you know, if I stay in the RV spot, I'll have to pay for my tent location. So I just want to keep my expenses low if I can.
I don't blame you. Don't blame you at
Well,
all.
you know, you went to Reno. You know what the expense sheet looks like. It's
About it.
it's costly.
Tell me about it.
Did you get a sunburn from being out in the sun? Did you get a little burn?
No. I didn't spend enough time outside in Reno. Went outside the one day because Jessica Jones and I were talking about going to get matching Bigfoot tattoos.
Oh, did you guys do it?
Oh, we couldn't find a tattoo parlor. We were told they're on every street corner block. Couldn't find a tattoo parlor. And it was just sketchy outside of the casinos.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I ran into some serious sketch balls. I thought I might get, robbed by the one guy. And I just gave him the mad dog look like, you best not come near. And he was like, oh. Yeah. Had to mad dog a few folks, but that was okay.
Yep. You're like, this chick is packing.
Yeah. Like, just don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen.
It was fun though. I like to see downtown Reno. I've only actually driven through there, hauling ass to get to somewhere else. So I actually got to see around Reno, and the folks that I stayed with were really cool and, talking about Tahoe and everything. So I'll probably go back. I'll probably go back to Tahoe and hang out.
Yeah.
Another time because it's a very cool area.
Well, I can guarantee you that we're not going back to Reno next year. It'll either be in Las Vegas or in Apache Junction.
Oh, right on. That would be cool.
So that will be very cool because I'd like to try it out with one of our radio stations. And there's a lot of woo in Apache Junction for paranormal
Mm-hmm.
and UFOs and stuff. So I know Len Novin, the owner of our radio station there, would love to have us down. He would love to help.
Is he the desert? Is he the Desert Oracle? I've heard the Desert Oracle is out there somewhere, and he's really cool. Have you?
That I don't know. Len owns the radio station, the Rattler, that broadcasts us,
Okay.
and it's really cool because for Apache Junction isn't that big. I'm just pulling up the. It's only 40,000 people, but his radio signal is large enough to bleed into Phoenix, and that's another couple million people that potentially listen to the show, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Phoenix would be a huge, huge network, huge audience.
Yeah. So I think knowing the popularity of our show in Apache Junction, I think Len would really appreciate us coming down. And that's the way I'm kind of leaning. But I can tell you this, we will never, ever have another SOR fan party where we have to catch connecting flights. Not doing connecting flights anymore. That's retired after this last few weeks between Nebraska and now Reno, where these small puddle jumpers keep getting delayed on me. I've missed a total of 3-4 days work because of it. I mean, you don't see it on the show.
The airline industry is just in the can right now. It hasn't really recovered. There's so many problems. I mean, my favorite airline that I fly all the time, Alaska Airlines, just had another shutdown where they had to land a bunch of planes because of technical stuff. So it's just not good. There's all kinds of problems. So I'm sorry to hear that you had such problems with your flights.
It sucks. I missed another connector again, and no fault of my own. And, United would not even pay for my hotel room after the BS. The one thing I will say with American Airlines is they had no problem putting us up in a hotel. No problem whatsoever. But,
that's a bad sign when they don't pay for your hotel when it's their fault.
Yeah, absolutely. They just don't care. They've got the money, they just don't care.
It's a bad sign. It's a really bad sign that they're not taking care of people.
Yeah.
A lower level of service and customer service, taking care of their customers.
But it is what it is. So, I mean, what can I do, right?
How many people were abducted in Reno from the SOR party? Not me. I didn't have any missing time. I was probably the most mundane person at the SOR fan party.
Well, I don't know. I did wonder about Sweet Robbie G's wifey. We called her Mrs. Sweets while we were there. She seemed to, blast in and out, like walking in and out of the portal. 1 minute she's there, the next minute she's gone, and then she's back a few minutes later, with drink in hand. I don't know. Some people will say the bar. I'll say it was aliens.
There could be a prosaic explanation for that.
Be. But if you're a fan of this show, that prosaic explanation is always aliens.
Let's just say aliens might be an excuse for a lot of other things. That could be read. That could be read both ways, my friend.
I will say this though: getting to meet you, Sweet Robbie G. Like there's a number of people there I had already met prior. But getting to know you guys, getting to know Jackie Harmon and Lee Strauss, and watching them fall in love in Reno. Oh, my heart is breaking.
Yeah, very sweet. One of my big pickups was talking to Rob about the drive from down. I don't know if he said it was Reno. He'll have to weigh in here. But driving from Reno all the way down to Area 51 was one of the best drives ever. Just quiet and there's nobody, and you just see a bunch of stuff. So I think that would be an interesting to do at some point.
Have you never done that drive?
Not from Reno down to Area 51. I've driven from Montana down through Utah to the desert, but I don't think I've ever driven down through Nevada that way. No.
It is. I've done that drive 4 times, and 4 or 5 times. And that drive between Reno and Vegas is amazing. And if you're a military buff like I am, it's like being in heaven. Like you never know what you're going to see. All of a sudden you look around and you see like Humvees and tanks and Bradley assault vehicles driving through the desert on the roads beyond the fences, or you'll get buzzed by an F-15 Eagle or an F-16 or whatever it may be. And then you see Tonopah, where all the drones are, and where they now fly the F-117s out of there, the ghost towns. And where I freaked out was because the last time I did it, I was actually driving that part, was when you actually come to the Kingdom of Nye. Well,
okay.
Nye County, but Art Bell used to call it the Kingdom of Nye.
All right.
And when I saw Nye County on the sign, I was just like, oh my God, like I'm right near Art Bell. This is what I've heard for so many years on radio. And it was actually one of those hell yeah type moments for me. It really was.
Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do that drive when I go down to Cali for the Contact in the Desert at Indian Wells. Maybe that'll be something I work in.
Yeah. Just remember, when you hit Tonopah Air Force Base, over the mountains is where the secrets are.
Okay. I'll remember that. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. He weighed in. I knew he would, because we had that conversation. I forgot that you weighed in on it too, and we're talking about the history of everything. So I'm glad you reminded me.
Right. It's all good. It's all good. Well, we're going to shut this thing down here.
Right on.
And you go enjoy your weekend. It is a long weekend up here in Canada for Queen Victoria's celebratory birthday weekend.
Good.
She's only been dead about 150 years, but that's okay.
Nice.
We'll take the day off.
Yeah,
sometimes it's pain to have a monarchy.
Well, enjoy your time. I hope you enjoy your time. You worked hard and had a lot of stress over the last few days, so I hope you get a nice day off.
I am looking forward to Sunday, because that's when I'm heading out to my Sasquatch site.
Good luck. I hope it goes well for you.
All right. Courtney, you're the best. We'll talk to you on Monday night.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Courtney Marcassani, everybody, with UFO Court. Dry Toast, the best name on YouTube, right there. We appreciate it. And we appreciate all of you. Thank you tonight to our super chatters, Joe, Big Dog, Sun times 4, Catherine, Carla, Aloha Dave, and CS. Very much appreciate you guys coming on in. Thank you to all of our new subscribers. We very much appreciate it. To answer your question, CS, it does change color. I got to adjust my lights up above me, so that way the colors actually glow. So it's not really moving its toes. It's just changing colors as it speaks, or as I speak. We'll see you all on Monday. Don't forget, Sweet Robbie G is in the house on Saturday and Sunday. And right before Sunday's show, Jessica Jones with our, what do they call that? Off the Trails. We'll see you then, guys. I'll take care. Good night.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.